nice gestures to make. But the bottom line before this very significant contest is to be prepared. Darryl Sittler of Team NHL is ready, and so are we. Good evening, everyone. I'm your host, Dave Hodge. It's a three-game series. It was planned that way, and most people thought it would come down to tonight's third game. There have been two very different games the first two nights, and let's look at the winning goals, the key plays from those games. In Game 1, the National Hockey League won 4-2 and had the goal it needed to win, the third one, before the first period was over. Bob Gainey of Montreal, normally a defensive specialist, makes a great offensive move. Beats the Soviet defenseman, and then Trottier, the goaltender. The NHL led by 2 after 1 and wound up winning by 2 goals. But Game 2 was an entirely different story. The Soviets dominating much more than the scoreboard indicated. Coming from behind 4-2, tying it up, and then winning it with a third period goal by Vladimir Golikov. Golikov is a Charlie horse and will not play tonight. And lineup changes are very much the part of this third game story. For not only will Golikov sit out, but the Soviets have decided to replace Vladislav Trottier in goal with a younger, more inexperienced netminder, Vladimir Mushkin. And the NHL has 4 lineup changes. Interesting, perhaps very significant. Jerry Cheevers will be the starting goaltender, replacing Ken Dryden. 3 players will be inserted into the lineup who did not play in Game 2. 2 of them big fan favorites here at Madison Square Garden, Ulf Nilsson and Anders Hedberg of the Rangers. Another a strong checker, Don Marcotte of the Boston Bruins. Dropped from the lineup, Steve Shutt and Guy Lapointe of Montreal and Marcel Dionne of the Los Angeles Kings. Let us now introduce you visually to the people you'll be listening to tonight. Sharing the play-by-play duties, Danny Gallivan and Dan Kelly. In the booth with them, Dick Irvin and the former Boston and Chicago great Bobby Orr. And with me in the intermissions, providing his highlights and colorful analysis, Howie Meeker. 4 players who have been officially awarded Player of the Game awards in this series. Guy Lafleur, very important to NHL success, was the Player of the Game in the opening contest. And here's another look at the man who has been perhaps the best Soviet player but will not play tonight. Golikov has a Charlie horse. In Game 2, the best NHL player, Bryan Trottier. The Islander line, which he centers, has scored 4 of the 8 NHL goals in this series. And adding to a great reputation in the second game in the Soviet victory was the defenseman Valery Vasilyev. We will see him tonight as from Madison Square Garden, we get ready for the deciding game in the series of the century. Tonight, Game 3 of the Challenge Cup, live from Madison Square Garden in New York, is brought to you by your Chevrolet Oldsmobile and GMC truck dealers, and by your Pontiac Buick GMC truck dealers across Canada, and by Molson, Canada's name in beer since 1786. Inside Madison Square Garden, where the atmosphere is electric. This is Dick Irvin, along with Danny Gallivan, Dan Kelly, and Bobby Orr in the broadcast booth. We are set for the opening ceremonies. And now, for the ceremonies, the voice of Madison Square Garden, Carl Martin.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Madison Square Garden. Tonight, the National Hockey League and the National Hockey League Players Association present the NHL Challenge Cup, the third and decisive game of the hockey series of the century. A championship confrontation between hockey's 2 greatest powers, the All-Stars of the National Hockey League and the national team of the USSR. Ladies and gentlemen, the NHL Challenge Cup. Now let us welcome these 2 great competing teams, the national team of the USSR and the NHL All-Stars. may we present three outstanding personalities who will sing the national anthems for us tonight. To offer the national anthem of the Soviet Union, here once again is Georgian Gillies. For the Canadian national anthem, once again, Roger Doucet. And for the first time in this series, singing the anthem of the United States of America, Ronald Reagan. And now we ask you to rise for the singing of the national anthems. The players will exchange greetings on this historic occasion. Will the two starting centers please skate to center ice? And now for the ceremonial face-off, please welcome the all-time Stanley Cup scoring champion, a six-time first-string All-Star choice at center, a leader of the Montreal Canadiens for 18 years, a man who personifies the best in hockey on and off the ice, Jean Beliveau.
When the puck is dropped next, it'll mean something. Will it ever? This is the Challenge Cup live from New York's Madison Square Garden.
When you got it, you know it. When you got it, you show it.
Hot stuff. Real hot stuff. Styling that defies mediocrity. Pontiacs that beg to be driven. The 1979 Grand Prix. Firebird. Sunbird.
You feel it. When you got it, reveal it.
Lean, confident, responsive. Not an ounce of flab. When you slip behind the wheel, you'll know it. There's only one thing more rewarding than owning one, and that's sharing it.
Nobody's got it like Pontiac's got it. Nobody's got it like Pontiac's got it. Nobody's got it like Pontiac.
You got it, Pontiac.
This is Canadian country.
I guess everybody's got their own idea about the kind of country they like best. But you know, you could spend your whole life traveling from one side of Canada to the other, and I'll bet you still couldn't cover half of it. Like around here, There must be, a dozen places you could get to in a day's walk, and each one is different and kind of special. That's the thing about Canada I like best. Wherever you go, you're going to find something special. And as far as I'm concerned, there's only one kind of beer that can match it. Molson Canadian. My kind of beer.
Look around and you'll find the flavor of the country. Coming at you in one big pot of beer. That's only one Canadian. Molson Canadian. Molson Canadian. Canada's kind of beer.
Here at Madison Square Garden, as has been their custom in the series, the players went for an extra long skate following the opening ceremony. And as has been the custom, a new set of officials working the game tonight, all from the National Hockey League. And let's meet the game officials now.
My name is Leon Stickle. I'm from Milton, Ontario, and I'm one of the linesmen for tonight's game.
I'm the referee for tonight's game. I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba. My name is Andy Van Hallemont.
Mon nom est Claude Bechard, juge de ligne pour la partie de ce soir.
And there you see 22-year-old Vladimir Mushkin, 38-year-old Jerry Cheevers, both making their first start in goal. Here now with the play-by-play, Dan Kelly.
Thank you, good evening, everyone. Robinson immediately clearing the puck to the Soviet line. Soviets dump it out, and Mikhailov, number 13, cleared it into the NHL zone. Borja Solming hustling back to get it. And as he touches it, icing is called against the Soviet team, and a face-off coming up to the left of the starting Soviet goaltender, Vladimir Mushkin.
Bobby Orr, your thoughts on Jerry Cheevers?
Another game to Jerry. Dick, he's ready. Big games. He's played so many big games. It's such a big game, but it's not going to bother him. He'll be right there all the way through.
Clarke against Petrov on the face-off. The Soviets clear at the center ice. Solming has it there, dumping it back in, and number 12, Starikov, beaten to the puck behind the net. Clarke couldn't get it. Now Barber knocks down a Soviet player, and the Soviets start out of there. And it is Alexander Golikov, number 23. Into the corner with Solming, who bumped him out of the play. McDonald cleared it. Now the Soviets back to the point. Vasiliev shot high off the glass. Here's Golikov. Back to the point. Fedorov fires a shot wide of the net. Soviets put some pressure on. Here in the early going, Vasilyev's shot is blocked. And Barber passes it out on right wing to Lanny McDonald. In across the line, Vasiliev breaks it up. Robinson was cruising in behind the play, but McDonald couldn't get him the puck. They jam up in the corner, and the face-off will be to the left of the Soviet goal.
Nobody really believed it all day today when the rumor was out that Trottier would not play, but indeed that has happened. There is young Mushkin. He played for the Soviet Wings in their recent 4-game series against NHL opposition. The 5 goals against average, not that great, but he impressed a lot of people. Obviously, he impressed his employers sufficiently to start in this big one.
He's only 23 years of age, is Mushkin. Here from the face-off, cleared into the center ice area, and back is Beck, number 4, feeds it to Lafleur. Now the Soviets take over. In across the line, Makarov dropping it back, a backhander by a newcomer in the Soviet lineup tonight, Gainey, tipped away by Cheevers. Puck at center ice and back into the Soviet zone. Vilyalednov, number 14, got it to center, and Beck hustles back for the NHL. Gets to the puck, but is tied up by Tumanev. Now Beck, under pressure, feeds to Gilbert Perreault. Perreault, number 11, feeds into the Soviet zone. Skated off by Vilyalednov. They jam up in the corner. And puck does come loose. Makarov trying to clear it. Now Lafleur for the NHL, trying to get it in front. Broken up, Vilyalednov holding it along the boards in the corner. The NHL players backed away, and there's Lafleur with the puck. Into the slot area, checked in. Tumanev gets it to center ice to the newcomer, Gainey, number 18. Vilyalednov got it into the zone. The NHL cleared right back up. Now they jam up on the boards and hold the puck just outside the NHL blue line as Bob Gainey was throwing some muscle around.
Team NHL coach Scotty Bowman made some changes for tonight's game, and before it began, we asked him his feelings going into Game 3.
The players will provide us with that spark that's needed in this series. As you know, we were able to dress 20 men. We have 25 on our roster, and this will
put some fresh faces in the lineup, and I feel that these players are well ready to play this game.
And we've got the fresh faces out there now. Dan Kelly with the two Swedes who did not play in Game 2, and Don Marcotte, who hasn't played before tonight. Marcotte, number 21. Here's Robinson. A lead pass to Marcotte in across the line and cleared out by the Soviets. Solming, number 26, at his own line to Robinson. Robinson beating it to center ice for Ulf Nielsen. Nielsen bumped on the boards by Babinoff. Lukov dropping it back, and Fedorov cleared it to the line, held in. There's a shot, and the shot by Solming was wide to the target. Soviets dump it back to center. Robinson, number 19, for Marcotte. And the play is offside at the Soviet Union blue line.
Dick, this is the way they started off Thursday night. They're forechecking, they're taking the body, not being foolish, and this is the way they got to play. They got to dump it in, they're going after them, and this is exactly the way they started off Thursday night, so it appears to be a great sign.
Well, the two Rangers leave the ice after a short shift, and a hand for the Islanders line, who, of course, has played so well. And then there you see the Soviet bench with Coach Tikhonov in front of the players, as is his custom. You got Mr. Orr held down in that chair for this one, Dick. Give him a lot of room today. From the face-off, it is Starikov back into his own zone. Vasiliev to center ice. Schwartzoff to check. There's Clarke Gillies standing on a shot, and the Soviets dump it to center. Big Barry Bubba Beck fired it back in. NHL on the attack. Trying to center it was Mike Bossy, but Vasiliev, one of the key players for the Soviets in their victory yesterday, cleared it into the NHL zone. Where Gillies knocking down a Soviet player along the boards, and they hold it in the face-off will be in the NHL zone. Scotty, a coach like Scotty Bowman is really in a no-win situation. They think he should change, others think he shouldn't have stopped.
Hey, Scotty's the boss, and he's been very, very successful. I can't question him. I don't know how we can question him. This is the lineup he thinks he should have out there, and it's not a bad lineup.
Scoreless game thus far from the face-off. Beck coming up with it. That's Schwartzoff tying up Beck in the corner. Schwartzoff, number 11, pins Beck of the Colorado Rockies in against the boards, and we'll have a face-off. Number 4, Barry Beck. Second-year player in the National Hockey League. And in none of the other year, except the year when a Mike Bossy scores over 50 goals, he would have been a cinched Rookie of the Year. Trottier on a face-off, deep in the NHL zone. Trottier wins the draw. Back behind the net to Dennis Potvin on right wing to Bossy, who cleared it to center ice. Hogan knocked it down. Now, there's Bossy upended the blue line. Now, Trottier carries in a shot, but the play was offside as Bossy was in ahead of the play offside. There's no score. The Challenge Cup, the series of the century.
Gang.
Oh, my God.
Murray and Lou. Rhoda. Ted and Georgette.
No guts. I really think you're terrific, Lou Brandon.
Phyllis.
Why don't you go suck an egg?
And the Happy Homemakers. They're the best, and they're back. The Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Mary Tyler Moore follows the Odd Couple weekdays on Channel 9.
This great event tonight is being seen throughout all of Canada. Celebrities in the audience, millions coast to coast. And it all comes to you through the cooperation of CTV and the CBC Network, which has released the stations necessary to provide complete national coverage of this final game of the Challenge Cup Series. Petrov against Bobby Clarke, face-off at the Soviet line. The NHL gets the draw on Serge Savard to Robinson. He fired it into the NHL zone, and the puck apparently flipped up over the glass. Face-off will be out near center ice. Now there you see the opposing masterminds, Tikhonov and Scotty Bowman. Tikhonov played 10 years as a defenseman with the Moscow Dynamo team and began his coaching career. Petrov on a face-off against Clarke. Clarke winning the draw, but it comes all the way back into the NHL zone. Chevers feeds it aside for Robinson. Neither team has had a shot on goal officially as yet. Robinson clearing it, and everyone on that NHL bench had to duck, and the face-off will be back to the right of Jerry Cheever. He almost had one of the coaches off the repairs there. That one didn't miss Scotty by too much. Vladimir Petrov, 31 years old.
For years, the top Soviet center, rated the top face-off man in European hockey for many years, and currently the leading scorer in their regular major league.
He's against a pretty good face-off man right now in number 16 for the NHL, Bobby Clarke. And Clarke does the job and wins the draw to Savard on right wing. Golikov knocked it down, and now it is Robinson behind the NHL goal out on left wing for Barber, who cleared it to center ice. Golikov lost it to Barber, and Barber in turn checked by Petrov. Petrov, number 16, flips it into the NHL zone. Keever's back of the net. And clearing it off the boards is Serge Savard down the ice. Lushkin out of the net, setting it up. NHL trying to hold it in. Barber did hold it in, but now Mikhailov poked it near the NHL line. Serge Savard, number 18, to Clarke. Over on the wings for McDonald. He's set. Now Robinson tries his luck. He lost it, and back comes Mikhailov, number 13. Shoots one. Keevers takes the save, and Robinson comes up with the rebound and cleared it out on right wing for McDonald. McDonald cleared it over onto the other wing. Petrov knocks it down, but McDonald intercepts his pass and circles to his own blue line. For Serge Savard. Here's Savard. Tied up by Petrov. Got it into the Soviet zone for Vukin, number 5. Has it there. Cleared it right on the Lafleur set. Into Gainey. There's Gainey, number 23. Centered, and Perreault couldn't get a stick on it. And the Soviets clear it out on right wing. And across the line is Makarov. Centering pass. Coleman cleared it. Now Tumanev in the corner. He's checked and back on the NHL. Gainey. Long shot. Wide of the goal. Lafleur on right wing. Trying to get to the puck. But cleared by Fedorov to center ice. Barry Beck backhand swung back into the Soviet zone. Lushkin trying to clear it out himself. Lafleur fired it back in behind the net. That's Babinov, number 4. On right wing for Makarov. Now they work at the center, and Tumanev was checked, and Don Marcotte flips it right back into the Soviet zone. Fedorov to Babinov. Babinov feeds to center ice, and here they come, led by Tumanev. Across the line, and the play goes outside at the NHL blue line.
Teams have played 6 minutes and 1 second, still no score. Live from New York, this is the Challenge Cup.
Another weekend's coming, and are we gonna have the time of our lives?
Now's the time to relax with the beer of the country. Raise a glass of Canadian, Molson Canadian. It's your kind of beer.
A bitterly cold, clear night in New York City, and a scoreless hockey game here inside warm Madison Square Garden.
And we may have some hot action before this one is over. Here is the NHL on the attack, trying to jam up on the boards and hold it there with Hedberg. Now at center ice, Dennis Puckback third it into the Russian zone. In there after it, Marcel around on the boards for Hedberg, into the corner for Rolf Nielsen. Nielsen overskates the puck. Hedberg side to center. To Nielsen to Marcel. And cleared away by the Soviets. And back they come with a lead pass on right wing. In for Kapustin. Kapustin, number 8, upended behind the net. Dennis Puckback with the puck. Lost it. There's a chance. Keevers. Big save. Rebound. Stopped at the defense on Vasily outside. And Keevers reached his first inch to cover. Back comes Hedberg. Beating it in on left wing and breaking it up. Is Vasiliev, number 6. Over on the wing for Starikov. Almost intercepted. Down into the NHL zone. Potvin, number 5, back together. Then it's Potvin. Gets it right to the Soviet line, knocked down there. And Vasiliev comes up with the puck, and then the play is called on a delayed offside.
Well, Nelson of the Rangers out there. Of course, he played against the Soviets several times in European hockey. We asked him the attitude towards the Soviets in Europe.
When I was back in Sweden and played the Russians, it was a whole different game because of the big ice surface. They really execute the basic fundamentals really well. They shoot and pass and skate really well, so it's very hard for us to catch them because I don't think the Swedish players were really strong enough.
Soviets have had 2 shots on goal. The NHL as yet have not had a shot on goal. Now the puck, Clarke Gillies runs into one of the Soviets, and Soviets jumping down the ice, going after it is Savard, and as soon as he touches it, icing is called against the Soviet Union.
Bobby, the Soviet shots were good ones. We'll get to that in just a minute. Still no score. This game between the NHL All-Stars and the Soviet national team is coming to you from New York.
When you got it, you know it. When you got it, you show it.
It's when you slide in behind the wheel that it really hits you. Nothing you could really put your finger on. All the same, it's there. The pride and the passion Pontiac imparts to its breed of bold, personal cars. The 1979 Grand Prix. It's there. You can feel it.
Nobody's got it like Pontiac.
You got it, Pontiac.
We are back in the broadcast booth at Madison Square Garden. I'm Dick Irvin along with Dan Kelly, Danny Gallivan, and Bobby Orr. No score, and as Dan Kelly has just pointed out, not a shot yet for Team NHL.
Here's the line from the Islanders that has scored 4 of the 8 NHL goals so far in the series. Trottier, Bossy, and Gillies. And Trottier wins the faceoff, but it goes immediately to Bilyaletdinov. Trottier tied him up. Bilyaletdinov now feeding it out on the wing for Barnikov, who cleared it to center ice. Serge Savard firing it right back in. Hustling back is Bilyaletdinov, number 14. Third on the boards for Barnikov. Barnikov now gets it to center ice. In across the line, a drop pass back to shortstop, but the play is offside at the NHL blue line.
At this point, I like what I see. They're throwing that puck in. They're doing a great job forechecking. Although we haven't had any shots on net, they haven't had any 3-on-2s, and the Soviets can tell you with 3-on-2s. But so far, in the first 8 minutes, I think they're ready. I think they're going to come out on top.
A couple of Soviet players not playing, including Harlamov, as you see them looking on from the sidelines here at Madison Square Garden. Soviets didn't like that last call. It was an offside at Team NHL blue line. Sportsov still arguing the point after a fashion as he leaves the ice. Lafleur playing with new line mates here tonight. He started the series and played through most of the first 2 games with Marcel Dionne at center and his regular line mate Steve Shutt on the left side. But right now, with both Dionne and Shutt out of the lineup, Perreault and Gainey out with Lafleur.
Here's Robinson from the faceoff. Lead pass for Lafleur. Out of the goal is Mushkin to clear the puck. Couldn't get it out. Lafleur has it on the right wing board. Lafleur shoots one. Mushkin the save, and the rebound goes right on to Petrov's stick, who cleared up the center ice to Alexander Golikov. Knocked back in by the NHL. Now Babinov at center with a pass to Mikhailov. He lost it to Lafleur. And Lafleur was shot. Now Perreault tries. He's tied up. And the Soviets work it to Mikhailov, who played it off the boards behind the NHL goal. Borja Salming of the Toronto Maple Leafs out on the wing for Gainey. Gainey is checked. Now Babinov to Mikhailov, back to the other point for Vukin. Shot! Right on! Cheevers makes the body save, juggled in and then held on. And took a bit of a jab at the Soviet player out in front. Well, you're right about Jerry, Bobby. He is standing right up there. You can do it right from the start.
You know, Cheesy, even in our league, if anybody comes near his crease, he lets you know that you're not supposed to come near the crease. But he's had 3 saves to this point, but they've been 3 good saves.
Or not so near the crease.
He just gave Boris Mikhailov a message.
Well, he's a competitor.
I guess you'd call that just getting into the game, Dan.
Oh, Jerry's ready. He's ready for this one.
Better be.
Ready for a face-off. Perreault on the draw. The Soviets get a shot, though, from the point. Babinov shot handled by Cheevers and Barry Beck. Out on left wing to Gainey. He got it to center ice. Now Babinov, number 4, trying to work it back in. Over onto the other wing. For Mikhailov, they work it to Petrov. He's off the top. Here's Lafleur after a low puck. Lafleur lost it to Babinov. Goes up back in a hurry. And the Soviets get it to center. Now, moving in. A centering pass over on the wing for Golikov. He's set by Lafleur. Golikov center. Petrov the shot, and Cheevers slides out and stops the shot that was right along the ice. Tremendous shot by Cheevers. The Soviets have outshot Team NHL 5-1, and every one of them, Bobby's been a good shot.
Golikov makes a great pass out there. I think it's Petrov, and Cheesy makes another great save. He's it all the way.
Well, we'll take a look at it here as we zero in isolated on Jerry Cheevers. And there's the save he makes face-off in the NHL zone.
Number 18, newcomer to the Soviet lineup in this series, Irek Gimeyev. 21-year-old youngster seeing his first action on the ice right now as the NHL clear at the center. And that's Gillies, number 18, back after him. In front of his own goal to Vasiliev, knocked down Sittler, centered it, and Mushkin had to make a save on the centering pass. Now a lead pass for Trumanev is too far ahead. That hustling back gets to the puck and it's icing against the Soviets.
Still no score. You are watching the Series of the Century live from Madison Square Garden.
You've got to practice, but you need that moment of competition, the performing under pressure. That's when you find out whether it's going to win or you are. Lotto Canada revenues support sports competitions on every level to help Canada's young athletes get better and better at their game. Lotto Canada, a Canadian institution dedicated to the development of fitness and amateur sport in Canada.
That's Bob Gainey and company on the NHL bench. Ready for a face-off to the left of the Soviet goal. Gillies against Clarke, and the Soviets win the draw. Now having trouble is Starikov trying to clear it out. Here's Gillies, number 18, behind his own goal. The Starikov in the corner. He flipped it off the boards to center, and Denis Potvin goes back after it. Potvin to Clarke, out to Sittler. Sittler at center ice. Across the line is Lanny McDonald with a shot, and a sick save by the goaltender, Mushkin. Now Sittler trying to center, knocked down by Makarov, number 24. There's Makarov dropping it behind his own goal to Vasiliev. Out on the wing, and the Soviets drop it back to their own blue line again, and Vasiliev circles back. Over to Starikov. Now out at center ice for Gainey. In across the line. Broken up, and back comes Serge Savard. Savard for Bobby Clarke to Savard. Broken up at center by Trumanev, and the Soviets circle back, and Vasiliev passes out on right wing for Vilyaletnov. His pass is on the right wing side for Kapustin. Across the line, Kapustin puts it in, but Savard has it. Serge Savard. Lead pass on right wing for Hedberg. Hedberg goes to the corner with Perreault. Now, in comes Ulf Nielsen trying to center. Gustav has the puck behind his own net. He's bumped against the board. Here's Marcel. Tipped it in front, and Mushkin grabbed it and held on. Sounds from the NHL bench as we look at Mushkin, the Soviet goaltender. Face-off in the Soviet zone, a scoreless hockey game. Here's Robinson, shoots, and Mushkin a stick save. Now Vilyaletnov clearing at the center ice. Here's Balderas after him. Balderas moves in. His shot is well wide of the NHL goal. Bounce to center ice. Gustav walks the puck to Marcel. Into Nielsen to Hedberg. Shoots one, and Hedberg fired a wrist shot just wide. Robinson shot. Stopped in front of the net. Now they drop it back to Robinson again. It is picked up by Nielsen. Here the Soviet goal, but Vilyaletnov coming up with it and feeding it out to center ice. Soviets in across the line. Drop pass. Gustav's shot is blocked, and Robinson flips it to Hedberg at center. Down into the Soviet zone, and Vilyaletnov, number 14, is back together. Soviets. No score, the NHL no score. Here are the Soviets on the attack. Potvin, number 9, dropping it back. Comes to the point, the shot is blocked, and bounces out to center ice. Davinov has it there. Shot it into the NHL zone. Robinson clears it. Near the Soviet line. Taken by Fedorov, number 2. Shot it into the NHL zone. Savard cleared it to center. Bossy couldn't handle it. Now they work it to number 11, Alexander Skvortsov. Skvortsov chased back into his own zone. Now it's fired to center, but right on the Trottier's stick who laid it off the board. Back is Fedorov. Fedorov out on the right wing board for Harmakov, and then Beck runs into a Soviet player and knocks him flying right at center ice. And getting up there
of game number 3 for the Challenge Cup.
As you roll along, shine on, taking time to have some fun, shine on. This is your kind of country, it's your kind of life, shine, shine on. And now's the time for the beer, that is brewed just for the country. The beer called Canadian, both and Canadian, it's your kind of beer.
Soviet Union with 5 shots on goal to 4 for the NHL, but it is still scoreless. 7:22 left in the opening period. Here is Beck, who just made that hit on Potvin for the NHL. To Clarke Gillies, he's sacked by Vasiliev. Now they worked it into Mikhailov, number 13. He feeds one in front of the NHL goal. No one there to take possession, and Trottier and Gillies tried to work it up. Shot back in and grabbed by Sittler, but the play had been whistled down on an outside at the NHL blue line.
Bobby, the shots on goal, a rather low total through almost 13 minutes, and you'd have to think Team NHL's got to start getting a few more on the kid.
Well, you've got to shoot the score, and I think this kid can be beaten, and it's just a matter of time with the offensive power we have out there. It's just a matter of time before we start getting some shots.
Let's see how Perreault, Gainey, and Lafleur can do. Salming lost it to goalie cop, but Lafleur came back to help us. Here's Guy Lafleur, stick handling in his own zone. Gives it to Perreault. Perreault circles back and over on right wing for Salming. Salming to center ice for Perreault. Broken up, goalie cop got it to Petrov, who shot it to the NHL line. Lafleur, left wing pass to Gainey. Gainey around Vasiliev, cutting in, and he was checked as he went to shoot from behind by Darryl and lost possession of the puck. Now the Soviets. Alexander Golikov, checked by Lafleur. Lafleur in with Gainey and Perreault. The pass to Perreault is too far ahead. And the Soviets try and clear it. Robinson held it in. Here's Lafleur. Dropping it back. Back to Lafleur. Behind the net to Guy Lafleur. To the point to Boria Coleman, and he was unable to hold it in. Now Barber for the NHL on left wing. Shoots one, and Pushkin gets his left hand on it. Barber again has it. Barber trying to get control of it. Centered it, but it went right onto a Soviet stick. And circling back is Alexander Golikov. For center ice, and Gimeyev, he's checked. Now Robinson for Barber, and the play is offside at the Soviet blue line.
The way the NHL All-Stars are taking the body now, the Soviets aren't too anxious to hang on to that puck too long. They're taking the body every chance they get. There's a shot by Billy Barber and a good save by Mushkin. But they're taking the body every chance they get, and it appears that many times the Soviets aren't too anxious to hold on to that puck.
5 minutes, 41 seconds left in period 1. Game 3 of this Challenge Cup Series at Madison Square Garden in New York. Bill Barber over getting a new hockey stick. And now staying on the bench as the NHL makes a change. Here's Savard with Verbuchen along the boards. Cleared into the NHL zone, and Barry Beck has it there to Savard. Savard spins away from some forechecking, cleared it to center. Verbuchen got it back to the NHL line, and Savard trying to get away from Tumanev. Tumanev tying up Savard. Savard, some good work along the board, flips it to center. Verbuchen for Bilyaletnov. Bilyaletnov passing it into the center ice area. Makarov moving in on left wing, shoots one high off the glass. Comes to the point, Bilyaletnov a drive, and that's deflected to the corner. Hedberg for the NHL. Knocked in against the board very hard by Gimeyev. Now they jam up over on the far side and hold it there. And the faceoff will be in the NHL zone.
Bobby, the veteran Boston winger, Don Marcotte, and you played alongside him.
He's a great hockey player. He works hard all the time, kills penalties. You never hear him complain. I can remember when he first started, he really didn't play a whole lot. He came along, and to me, he's so important to the Boston Bruins. He works, never stops, kills penalties. He's a fine hockey player.
All ready for a face-off between Victor Lukop and Bobby Clarke to the right of the NHL goal. Scoreless game, 4:53 now left in the period. Clarke wins the face-off to Potvin. He's tied up on the boards and pinned there by Capucin. Puck comes loose to the other side. Robinson is there for the NHL. Robinson trying to clear it. They got a Clarke way out. Now Capucin centered it. Valdera cut out. Look at it. Robinson can't get it out of there. At the point, a shot, and it's fired wide by Babinoff. There's Lanny McDonald trying to get it out of there. Hailed in by the Soviets. Now again, McDonald coming up with it and carries out of his own zone. A pass to Clarke. Off a skate into the Soviet, into the rink. Fedorov trying to clear it up. McDonald held it in to Clarke in the corner. Centered off of McDonald's skate. And here's Valderas, number 19. Helmut Valderas in across the line for Gustav. Dropping it over. Here's Valderas. A shot. It trickles just wide. Capucin center. Off a skate. Now to the point. Babinoff. Got it to the corner. In behind the net. They flip it in front. And Clarke is there to slap it off the center up. Number 4, Sergei Babinoff. In his own zone. Shooting it out on the right wing board. NHL's Gainey holding it in. Babinoff in the corner. Now Gainey again along the board. Trying to get it in front. Babinoff cleared it away. Again Gainey jamming a Soviet player out of the play. The puck comes to center ice. Colvin got it to the line. Beck cleared it back up. Skortsov got it for a moment. Now it is Starikov, number 12. Over to Skortsov. On the other wing for Barnikov. Shoots one in. Severs sets it up behind the net for Savard. Out on left wing for Gainey. Gainey dumps it into the Soviet zone. Lafleur digs in after it, but Starikov. Now Potvin lost it. The center to Gainey. Shoots one. Lushkin went to his knees and made a glove save. 2:57 left in this scoreless first period. The Challenge Cup is coming to you live from New York.
When you got it, you know it. When you got it, you show it.
You can see it, feel it. There's nothing run-of-the-mill about Le Mans, and it shows when you drive it. Taste, class. This is the way it is, Pontiac style. The true mid-size in 79 Le Mans, Grand Le Mans, and Grand Am. Mid-size magic, you know who's got it, don't you?
Nobody's got it like Pontiac.
You got it, Pontiac.
A look at a body check thrown by Larry Robinson. And Bobby, I think referee Van Helleman's rather charitable so far to both teams.
There's been a lot of hitting on both sides, and Big Larry threw a good check into one of the Soviets players on the board.
Here's Petrov on a face-off against Perreault to the left of the Soviet goal. Petrov wins the draw, and they roll. The puck was dropped unfairly, so they'll do it over again.
Look at a game of the... Sorry, Dan.
Go ahead, Bobby.
In a game like this, whether it be a Soviet referee or one of our referees, they don't want to call too many penalties, and our penalties be a big factor in the game.
Here's Serge Savard for the NHL, trying to set up Perreault. Knocked away. Lafleur is pulled down by McCullough. Here's Perbukin clearing at the center. Savard shoots it right back in. Perbukin dumps it right back out. And now Gillies to Mikhailov on right wing. His pass to Petrov too far ahead. Savard beats Golikov to the puck in the corner. Petrov along the board trying to center. In front to Mikhailov, and Beck cleared it away. Here's Petrov for the Soviets. Lafleur couldn't get it out of there. Now Savard goes to the corner with Mikhailov. And Savard holds the puck against the boards. There's another guy that doesn't seem to get too excited under pressure, Bobby.
No, Serge is very calm. We often kid him about not having nerves at all, but he's a great hockey player. I don't think he's ever made an all-star team. And
Isn't that amazing?
Just played so steady his entire career. So you can see he's played on 7 Stanley Cup teams. He's been a star in every Stanley Cup team he's been on, and it's hard to believe he's never been on an all-star team.
Bryan Trottier on the face-off against the Soviet Irek Gimeyev, number 18. Trottier on the face-off. Got it into the corner. Here's Mike Bossy flipping it into the center ice area. Gimeyev is back to get it over on right wing for Makarov. He shoots it into the NHL zone, and Denis Potvin back for the NHL. Cleared it on the boards for Bossy to Trottier, and that just failed to click. Makarov, number 24, pumped by Trottier. Now Gimeyev working in, is upended at the blue line by Potvin with a hip check, and back comes Robinson. One puck cleared into the NHL zone where Robinson fired it right back out to center. Oh, a lead pass for Trottier just missed. Back to Ross, number 24, dropped it into his own zone. Savard cleared it into the center ice area. Checking is very close at this point. Now cleared into the NHL zone. It's Kumanev on left wing, tied up by Bossy. Now Kapustin goes in there, it's centered, and Robinson feeds it to Gillies, down to Trottier. Trottier to Bossy. And across the line, Mike Bossy working it over on the other wing for Marcel. And it came outside the line and was carried back in by Marcel. Offside.
109 left in this scoreless first period. Let's now join Dave Hodge.
In the first intermission, I'll talk with Larry Robinson, Montreal Canadiens defenseman. Dick will chat with Chico Resch, the Islanders goaltender. And Howie Meeker will have highlights of this first period.
A minute and 9 seconds left in the first period. The NHL now with 6 shots on goal to 5 for the Soviet Union. Puck comes immediately to Serge Savard, trying to feed it in on right wing to Hedberg. Hedberg got it into the slot area. Lukov cleared it out. Now less than a minute to play in the period as the Soviets dump it down into the NHL zone. Beck is there. He is tied up by Coben. Hustling back to Nielsen around in the warts to Hedberg. He gives it to Savard. Serge Savard tried to work it to Markov. The Soviets break it up, and Vasiliev played it off the boards to center ice. Savard shoots it all the way back into the Soviet zone. Starikov, number 12, out on left wing for Kapustin. He couldn't handle it. Here's Savard dumping it right back in. 22 seconds left in the period. Vasiliev buffing in the corner. Comes up with the puck and starts out of the Soviet zone. Long shot by Kapustin, wide of the NHL goal. Beck is there, out for Marcel. Now Balderas fired it back to his own blue line. Kapustin is there with 3 seconds left. Back into the zone for Vasiliev as the buzzer goes to end a close-checking first period here at Madison Square Garden.
And Dan, the first full period of play in this series without a goal being scored. The NHL came from down 5-1 in the shots department and outshot the Soviets 6-5. But young Mushkin making his start in a very pressure-packed situation. I have had an adjustment there. It's now 7-6 as they've changed the board. But indeed, the kids stood right up, and we have a scoreless hockey game. And so the score at the end of the first period, the NHL nothing, the Soviets nothing. This is Game 3 for the Challenge Cup.
Perfect, David. Beautifully played. David, I've never seen you hit a ball so well. What's brought about such improvements?
Concentration, Paul. The business is going well. My financial affairs are in good hands. And now when I play golf, all I have to worry about is playing golf.
Tell me, David, who is handling your financial affairs?
Pitfield McKay-Ross. Pitfield started with a thorough analysis of my holdings, followed up with regular, solid portfolio advice.
You're impressed?
Paul, I think even you would be impressed by Pitfield McKay-Ross.
I always have been, David. Pitfield McKay-Ross has handled my financial affairs and those of the company for years. We like them because they have an excellent range of services, top-notch research, and good people.
Great people.
I can't say, though, that Pitfield has ever helped my golf game.
Pitfield McKay-Ross, 40 offices in Canada and abroad. Choosing us could be your most important investment decision.
Things go better when you and Coke.
Things like what's in your team.
Look at it again. Please do.
Scoreless at the end of one period in the deciding game of the Challenge Cup Series, the slowest start from a scoring sense we have seen in this series. And With my guest, Larry Robinson, we might talk about the predictability of such a period. I guess both teams want to be as cautious as possible, and I wonder how much that was in your mind to try to make sure there wasn't an early mistake.
Well, quite a bit. As you know, this comes down to a do-or-die situation. Whenever you get into this situation, nobody wants to make a mistake, and even more so against the Russians, because they're masters at the 2-on-1 and the 3-on-2, and they usually take advantage of mistakes.
One famous part of Jerry Cheever's repertoire is his ability to handle the puck and therefore to help his defensemen. Now, do you look forward to this as an aid in this game with Cheever's playing goal for the first time in the series?
Well, I think so. Anytime you get a goaltender that handles the puck as well as Jerry does, if they do come in and forecheck us quite a bit, they can't make a mistake and put it at the goaltender, because Jerry has the ability to pick it up and make that pass up to the forward and maybe catch 2 or 3 of them. So, he is what you call a defenseman's goaltender, because he does play the puck so well. He's like a third defenseman out there.
I'm curious, because you do not have experience or much experience playing with him. You're more used to Ken Dryden. Whether you have any difficulty in adjusting to Cheevers, or are those things innate to a hockey player?
Well, sometimes there are probably certain situations where, you don't know what Jerry might do, whereas if it was Kenny, you pretty well know because you played with him before. But I don't see any problems tonight, especially. There is so much emotion involved, and, you're usually thinking ahead, and Jerry doesn't want to do too much with the puck. A lot of time you can do too much, and, that bothers you.
You talk about emotion, and I wonder whether you might compare this to some other emotional moments that you've had in Stanley Cup Player 1976 and the Canada Cup, whether it might be higher, whether for a reason it might be a little bit lower and more conservative.
Well, there's the same emotion involved here, I think, as a 7th game of the Stanley Cup final, but I found tonight I had a little bigger lump in my throat because, you can say what you want, and I, for one, was somebody that said it before, that, the national, there's nothing national about this, but I'm proud to be a Canadian, and you'd like to win it for your country, for sure.
Larry, the forechecking of the Soviets in game number 2 was much more intense than in game 1, and it certainly hampered your play, especially you as a defenseman. I wonder what you might have been able to do coming into this game to counteract that great forechecking pressure that they put on you.
Well, anytime you have a lot of forechecking on you, you have to get back to the puck much faster and move it right away. You can't get back there and get set up or take off like you would before, because they send 2 guys in, and if the first guy doesn't get you, the second one sure does. So you have to get back and move the puck very, very quickly, and that puts lots of pressure on the forwards, to hurry back also and get into position. But, I think in the second game, that's one thing we didn't do was hustle back fast enough. I don't think we were just prepared for that type of game.
We were talking in game 2 about the lack of shots from the point and how that could be, and perhaps should be, a strength of the National Hockey League. How are they cutting that move off?
Well,
they have the puck a lot.
They have the puck a lot, but I think the other game, it showed on the board where we didn't get many shots at all, and I think the fact that we weren't getting any sustained pressure in their end, causes the shots to go down. It's pretty tough to take shots in the net from your own end, and that's where we were playing. Much of the game, it was in our own end, so we have to take the play to them and force them into mistakes.
Larry, we don't know hold you up, but we do thank you for the time, and good luck in the rest of the game.
Thanks very much.
Larry Robinson, Montreal Canadiens, and Team NHL. It is a scoreless first period. You're watching the Challenge Cup live from Madison Square Garden in New York.
Ever get the urge to just let your imagination run wild? Open up your life with a GMC truck. Get out there and really do it. Like a GMC van that you can make into your own private world. A pickup maybe, or for riding the high country, a Jimmy with 4-wheel drive. And if pulling power is what you're after, try hitching up to a GMC Suburban. GMC. Trucking's what we're all about.
There are over 10 million Lufkin power tapes in the world. The blade is high-carbon steel, drawn in Lufkin's own rolling mill. Its markings are true to 88 thousandths of an inch over a 100-foot length. Its epoxy finish is tough, yet flexible to resist impact. Its casing is as resilient as steel, yet 6 times lighter. Lufkin. From the Cooper Tool Group, we make once-in-a-lifetime tools.
Sports on CBC with television coverage of the 1979 Canada Winter Games from Brandon, Manitoba, as 2,500 athletes from across this country take part in the action. Ernie Affiganis and Don Whitman report on the opening of the Canada Winter Games.
Chico Resch was advertised to be my guest in this first intermission, but somewhere between the intersection you're looking at now and the top of Madison Square Garden, Chico must have taken a wrong turn. However, Robert Orr is here, and as much as I've enjoyed working with Bob through this series, I know that millions of hockey fans, as well as yours truly, would like to see him out on the ice instead. But, Bob, you've played against the Soviets. Do you recall the first time?
Yes, I was 16 years old, Maple Leaf Gardens, Dick. I can even remember we had a 2-1 lead. It was a junior all-star team, and we had a 2-1 lead, I think as late as the third period, and they ended up beating us 3-2, but I remember very clearly.
The Canada Cup, of course, really, I think it was really your last hurrah in hockey. Do you recall the atmosphere of that, the getting together with the guys and whatever?
Well, it was my first opportunity after I turned pro to play against the Europeans, and I can remember the atmosphere. It was unbelievable. To win it was great, but to play with the guys like Lafleur and Robinson, McDonald and Sittlers was just a great thrill. We had a heck of a hockey team.
Bobby, a year ago Christmas, you were overseas as the guest of the Soviet Hockey Federation. What's the atmosphere like when you look at a hockey game in the Soviet Union, sit in the crowd?
Oh, they're not. I don't think they make as much noise as we do, but hockey over there is so big. I went around a lot of the rinks. The number of kids playing, the leagues, it's unbelievable the number of kids they're playing, but they love their hockey over in the Soviet Union.
What do they know about the National Hockey League, about the Guy Lafleurs, the Bobby Orr? Do they follow it?
I attended a lot of press conferences there. I went to the ballet, and after I had a press conference, I went to the university where they train coaches, and I had a press conference there. But they would ask, at the ballet, I was asked by one of the employees there if Gordie Howe was still playing. I went into a couple of places. They had magazines, sports magazines. How they got them, I don't know, but they had magazines. But they know a lot about our hockey.
And we know a lot about Trottier and the others over here. Thank you, Bobby. No score at the end of the first period. This is the series of the century between the NHL All-Stars and the Soviets, coming to you live from New York.
Zenith announces a breakthrough. System 3. The best Zenith ever. A brand new picture tube for the sharpest Zenith picture ever. And an all-new modular chassis. Designed to be the best performing, the most reliable color TV in Zenith history. Zenith. System 3 is the best Zenith ever.
More than a 1 in 3 chance you'll win something. More than 1 in 3 you'll make good. Better than 1 in 3 you'll grin. Better than 1 in 3 you'll win that Lotto Canada game. It sure looks good.
$1 million prize, thousands of other cash prizes, bonus tickets, and instant checks. Now your Lotto Canada pouch has better than a 1 in 3 chance to win something.
That Lotto Canada game, it sure looks good.
Thinking about going somewhere? Then come with us.
Be real Canada.
We're Via Rail Canada, and we're going places. At Via, there's a choice of tours and a choice of ways to go. From a low-cost one-day outing to a complete holiday package, escorted or unescorted. This year, take a good look at Canada close up. Come, experience Canada with Via. Be good to yourself. Take the train.
It's scoreless at the end of one period. No possibility for release of tension at all in this deciding game of the Challenge Cup Series. And without consultation of any sort, believe me, Howie Meeker has come up with visual examples of subjects discussed with Larry Robinson, which must mean that if both of us are thinking about them, they have to be important. So show us what we were talking about and what you'd like to talk about.
Well, obviously, the Soviets know that we're going to try to bring the puck out around the boards. They're playing the boards. They're getting there ahead of us. They're anticipating what we're going to do. And here, we'll show you this first replay right here. And there is definitely a way to beat it. It's right off the face-off. And Team Canada wins the puck.
Now, there are two Soviets right on him. Now, look at the bottom of your screen. The Soviets come up with the puck. NHL gets it, and look at the Soviet player. He's there waiting for it. Now, look how they're moving in their defenseman. He's pinching, coming to the top of the circle. We happen to get the puck out, but the Soviets still come up with it. Now, there is a way to beat this tremendous pressure. The Montreal Canadiens do it all the time. When the puck is shot in, as it will be shot in here, the defenseman who retrieves it turns into the traffic. Now, watch the top of your screen. He'll go into the traffic, the top of your screen. He comes this way. Now, can we stop it right here? Now, the player to get the puck to is way over in the corner, and I really don't know who it is. But once you get the puck to him, then he hits everybody on the turn coming out or brings it out himself. What happens then, the Soviets say, hey, something just might happen, that if we start immediately to get on the puck carrier, we're in trouble. So there's a second of hesitation. That gives the defenseman an opportunity to make a play or drop it back to the fellow waiting in the corner.
This may be too simplistic, but does the NHL not need to have somebody pick that puck up and go with it just to get some movement started? Because the more the passes are missed, the more the NHL is without the puck.
Well, the whole idea of bringing it out the boards, is to force the opposition, in this case the Soviets, along the boards, and that opens up the middle. Yeah, and we haven't had our big puck carriers or our good passers with just give and go on one fella. And out the middle, you've got 85 feet once you get the opposition on the boards, and we're not playing it too smart.
Okay, let's look at another highlight.
Well, same thing. Soviets in their own zone. This they had to do in order to relieve their pressure. Normally, on the top of the screen, that man is usually out on the defenseman. What they've done is tightened up the box. Instead of putting their 2-point men out on our point men, where then it was 3 against 3. Now watch, it will go in again, and normally the Soviet player would stop in the top of the screen with the defenseman. And this would give Team NHL all kinds of opportunity to make plays. But see how he's dropped back? And it's leaving our point men open, and we're not getting the puck to our point men. But actually, they say, hey, what we're going to do now is play the game like in our own end, a small box, and we put 5 men in that box, and we're trying to stick handle through, and there's just no way you're going to get through.
Danny Gallivan had a good way to get around the Team Canada, Team NHL problem. He calls them stars.
Stars.
We'll watch for those stars and a lot from the Soviet Union as well as the second period is about to begin. From Madison Square Garden in New York, this is the series of the century for the Challenge Cup.
What's it take to brew a great light beer?
One of the great goaltenders of all time, Hall of Famer Jacques Plante, is with us. Jacques, in about 30 seconds, tell us about the pressure on the young Soviet goaltender Mushkin and on the veteran Cheevers in this game.
Well, I don't know if you can say it's pressure. You always have pressure, whether it's a practice or a game, but playing against another country, your pride is at stake, and it seems like that the goaltenders, the good ones, come up with their biggest games when they play in games like that. Cheevers so far has made some great saves. He seems to be playing at the right place. He stands outside of his goal crease, doesn't have to move too far to make his save. At the other side, the other end, Mushkin does the same thing. He's always 2 or 3 feet outside of his goal crease and doesn't give any rebound. So I think those two guys are ready for this game.
That's Jacques Plante, who knows of which he speaks. Goaltending. It is a scoreless hockey game here in New York after one period.
Teams are on the ice getting set for the start of the second period, and there you see the summary. Very briefly, no scoring and no penalties. So Team NHL, who at one point in the period was being outshot 5-1, outshooting the Soviets overall 7-6. As we mentioned, the first scoreless period of this Challenge Cup series. Well, down at the area to our left, Jerry Cheevers takes his spot, as Jacques has just mentioned. He came up with some super saves in that first period. You know, it's incredible just what has been going on in this building since we have been here throughout this week. Not only have we had 3 hockey games, there was a Knicks basketball game last night, the Millrose Games track meet on Friday night, and in behind Jerry Cheevers, just behind where our camera is, about 2,000 dogs are down there at the ready for the opening of the big Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show. It will get underway right here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. So Madison Square Garden is a busy place. Michigan 5-7. Some Soviet reports have them 22, others have them 23. Anyway, he's young. Dan, here we go.
Second period underway. Scoreless hockey game as Gilbert Perreault cleared it into the Soviet zone. Starikov is back to get it. Over to his defense partner, who is at this moment Vasiliev. Perreault steals it. Here's Perreault cutting in, shoots. Lushkin the save. Loose puck in front. Lafleur pokes at it and falling down to help out the goaltender with Starikov. And they hold it outside of that goal line after a good chance by Gilbert Perreault of the Buffalo Sabres.
Perreault knocks down a clearing pass out of the zone here. He's got room here, too. And Mushkin stays deep in his net. The defenseman cuts him off, so he figures he better take a shot. And he loses the rebound here, and Lafleur almost pokes it in.
Now back to the live action. A shot from the point by Beck right on. Back on the Soviets. In across the line. Holding on to the puck as Golikov centers it over to the other side. And Beck comes up with it. And now Gainey starts out of his own zone. Feeding it in. Here's a 2-on-1 break. Perreault and Lafleur too far ahead and tipped away. Out-centered. Mushkin got a stick on it. And it comes to center ice. Savard for the NHL. Dumping it back in, but Perreault was still trapped in there offside at the Soviet blue line.
Bobby, there was some talk about Perreault going into the series. He's not had that great a season, at least not a typical Gilbert Perreault season with Buffalo. But this kind of hockey's made for his style.
Oh, yes. The way he skates, handles the puck so well, can shoot it. He's not having a great season this season. He just has so much talent, and the 3 games, he just played super here.
Now the Ranger twosome of Hedberg and Nielsen, joined by Marcotte on the forward line. Solving at center ice for Marcotte. Tipped it in across the line, and hustling back is Gimeyev, firing it around in the boards, all the way down into the NHL zone. And as Boria Solving is back to touch it, we get an icing call against the Soviets to the face-off in the Soviet end of the rink.
Well, there's a newcomer in the Soviet lineup. He did not play in the first 2 games. Eric Gimeyev, another youngster getting a big chance, only 21 years of age, and he was a member of their junior championship team a couple of seasons ago.
Here's Gimeyev in the face-off against Dolph Nielsen. Nielsen wins the draw to Robinson, a drive, and he missed by 3 or 4 feet. Puck bounced all the way out to center ice. Now Gimeyev is tied up on the boards by Nielsen. Nielsen clips a long one in. The goaltender Mushkin cleared it aside, and now in front of the Soviets goal, they worked it out on left wing for Makarov. It's too far ahead. Solving hustles back, gets to the puck first, and another icing call against the Soviets. And it would seem to me, Bobby, that their Soviets are icing the puck much more than we've seen them in most cases.
I think that's happening because of the way they're checking, the way they're taking the body, and they've had 5 icings to this point, and NHL stars are taking the body, and then they're getting rid of it a little quicker than they usually would.
Here's Gimeyev on the face-off against Nielsen. Nielsen gets the draw back to Solving at the point, over to Hedberg on the right wing board, all the way to the other point to Robinson. Shoots one. Mushkin got a piece of it, either that or it hit the side of the net, I'm not sure which. And the puck comes to center ice, and going back is Robinson for the All-Star. Larry Robinson played it off the board. Nielsen now over to the other side to Solving at center to Barber. Got it in across the line. Vilyaletnov dumped it right back up. Here's Barber. He's upended on the play. And coming up with it for the Soviets is Kumanov, number 21. Lead pass to center for Gimeyev. Too far ahead. Dumped back in. Here's Vilyaletnov clearing it to center. Now Robinson as both teams play cautiously. Solving for Sittler. Checked at the center ice red line. And Vilyaletnov, number 14, Feeds it to center ice. Here's Bobby Clarke stealing the puck. Clarke on left wing, off the shoulder of Lushkin and up over the glass.
Pretty fair start for Team NHL. Still no score. The challenge Shutt, the series of the century.
Buick continues turbocharging North America with the world's biggest choice of turbocharged cars. The 1979 Turbo Buicks. 4 cars, all powered by the remarkable turbocharged V6. To drive one is to want one. The Turbo Buicks. The Riviera S-Type. The Sabre Sport Coupe. Regal Sport Coupe. And the Century Coupe and Sedan. When it comes to turbocharging, nobody else even comes close.
So far in this, the second period, the NHL has dominated. They have outshot the Soviets 4 shots to 0. As we look at Darryl Sittler, the big leaf center who is playing on left wing right now on a line with Clarke at center and Barber on right wing. Ready for the face-off. Blue top against Clarke. Clarke gets it to Sittler. To Beck at the point. The shot was blocked and bounces over to Savard. Savard clearing it. Here's Clarke trying to work it loose on the boards. Gets it to Bill Barber. And Barber shoots it into the Soviet zone. Having off his back after it. Trying to shoot it out on the boards. Barber knocks it down. Here's Barber in the corner behind the net to Clarke. Clarke back to the point to Savard. Back behind the net to Clarke again. Clarke gets some help from Barber, but the Soviets knock it loose. Barber, Clarke getting it to Savard. Here's Serge Savard on right wing, trying to work in. Skated off by Fedorov. And Kapustin clears to Balderas. Here's Balderas. In across the line. Balderas turns, shoots. Clarke blocked the shot. Another try on that hits Sittler. And Sittler comes to center for the NHL. Played it off the boards. Going back to number 2, Fedorov. Out on left wing to Kapustin. He shoots it down into the NHL zone. Dennis Potvin back to get him, and it's icing against the Soviets.
The Soviets played much better in Game 2. Winners yesterday, and their coach Victor Tikhonov talked about it.
In game number 1, the NHL All-Stars closed up the middle to us, and we lost 4-2. In yesterday's game, we won 5-4 because we opened up the sideboards. Tonight, with the caliber of hockey players on the ice at the same time, I feel it'll be the strategy of the coaches that plays a very important part in our game.
Here's Potvin at the point, holding it in. His shot goes wide. Now the Phillies skated off by Trottier. They work it out on right wing to Squirtsoff, who got it to center. Dennis Potvin back at the NHL blue line for Robinson. Robinson on left wing for Gillies. Gillies battling. Soviets take over and control it at their own blue line. Here's Varnikov. Upended by Potvin. Now Varnikov moving in. Shoots one, and it's blocked at the defense. Devers comes back to the net. Grabs the puck and held on. And the faceoff will be to the left of the NHL goal. Dick Irvin. Listen at the Soviet bench. Scoreless game. Trottier on the face-off against Coben. Trottier gets it behind his own goal, and here's Robinson. To center ice to Bossy. Now Trottier got it across the line, but squirts up. Here is Bossy for the chance, and he dribbled off the stick and went wide. Trottier trying to hold it in, but Varnikov clears it down the ice. Going back is Dennis Potvin, and he wins the race to the pocket again. It is icing against the Soviet Union team.
Bobby, that chance before Bossy really originated when Larry Robinson lugged the puck out of his own zone. I know you feel that's what they have to do more of.
We've got Larry Robinson, Dennis Potvin, Serge Savard, Beck. They can all handle the puck so well. They can all skate, and I would like to see them lug it. As you said, Dick, that chance we had there came from Robinson lugging the puck out of his end. And I would really like to see our big defensemen lugging the puck because they know what to do with it.
15 minutes, 28 seconds left in the second period. Scoreless game. Bill Barber at the NHL bench. Gilbert, Perreault on a face-off. Against Petrov, the Soviets win the draw and got it outside the line. Gainey flipping it back in. Perreault is still trapped in their offside.
And if this is all just a series of friendly exhibitions, as some of the Soviet hockey officials have tried to tell everybody, the looks and faces along the Team NHL bench would say otherwise.
No question about it. Tension up here in the broadcast booth would be another indication, wouldn't it, Mr. Orr?
Oh, yes.
I'm staying clear of his elbows. I've done all right so far.
Problem with the ice right on the Soviet side of the center ice red line, and the linesmen go to work on that.
Still no score. The teams have played 4 minutes and 38 seconds here in the second period. And Ed Houston of Ottawa, one of the many supporters here for Team NHL. It was interesting how many people were singing "Oh Canada" along with Roger Doucette prior to tonight's game.
Here is Gainey from a face-off, played it off the boards for Buchan, back for the Soviets. Tried to immediately clear it out and did to center ice. Savard has it there. Now Mikhailov, number 13, to Petrov. Petrov scooped it into the NHL zone. Savard feeds to Lafleur. Lafleur bottled up by Perbukin. Now a lead pass for Alexander Golikov, and Beck shoots it away. Gillies in his own zone to Perbukin. Slow checking game and scoring. Here's Mikhailov on the right wing. Off the skate and picked up by Perreault. Perreault is bumped by Mikhailov, and he cleared it into the NHL zone. And Barry Beck takes over. Out for Perreault. He's bumped down. Check by Gillies. Now Petrov in on the wing to Golikov. Dropping it back off of Perreault. Skate into the corner. And Beck played it to Perreault on left wing. A lead pass for Lafleur was behind him. And he circles back to get it. Now giving it to Gainey. Gainey to Lafleur. Golikov intercept. Now Mikhailov, number 13, moving in to Picard. A couple of things there, Bobby, I'd like you to point out. First, the intercepted pass. We don't see it. Now Barry Beck doesn't charge him. He hangs back a bit.
Barry really should be going at him here. And he's the oldest on the Soviet team, and I think he's 34 years old. He knows how to put it in the net.
Here's how it all began. Gainey tried to send Lafleur away, and it was intercepted right there by Golikov. Boy, those brothers played well.
At both blue lines. You've got to be careful at both blue lines, and unfortunately, he intercepted a pass, and you couldn't fault Gilbert on it.
Here come the Soviets again. Chumanev getting it into the corner. Robinson takes him out of the play. Cleared it out on left wing for Marcotte. Down Marcotte to center ice for Hedberg. Hedberg lost it to Fedorov in the corner. And Fedorov shot it to center ice. Here's Borja Solving taking Robinson's pass for Don Marcotte. Cleared it to the line. Babinov has it there. Babinov back into the corner for Fedorov. Shot it around in the boards. Marcotte couldn't catch up with it. And here's Makarov, number 24. Makarov shoots one and he fired wide. Now Petrov cutting in. Going to be a penalty here against the NHL. Called by referee Andy Van Hellemond.
First penalty of the hockey game. Live from New York. This is the Challenge Cup.
My flashlight's almost always in use, so I use Duracell batteries.
Mine sits in a drawer for months till I need it. That's why I use Duracell. Duracell batteries stay fresh a long time.
We tested 2-year-old Duracell batteries against brand new regular carbon batteries. And in continuous use, 2-year-old Duracell batteries still lasted up to 5 times longer. Duracell. The copper top battery.
They last longer when you use them.
And even when you don't.
View of the Empire State Building in New York. At night, just down the street from Madison Square Garden, where Mikhailov has scored. Golikov the assist at 5:47. The only shot for the Soviets here in the second period. But they made it count. It's 1-0, and now Team NHL is playing short. Marcotte off for elbowing at 6:27.
So Bobby Clarke and Barber and the penalty killing unit go to work. Lukov got the draw, but Potvin gets the puck to Savard, who flipped it to center. And Vasiliev, number 6, is back after. Feeds it for Lukov, number 22, to Kapustin. Kapustin, number 8, trying to go around Denis Potvin. Kapustin circles the goal. Holds on to the puck. They'll try and work a man free back to the point for Babinov. Babinov again. Over on the other wing to Kapustin. Back to Babinov. And it's him outside the line, and the Soviets have to retreat. Babinov is looked away by Clarke. Now Kapustin, number 8. They lead in the game. game, 1-0. Here's the pass. Over on the wing, Balderas moving in. Savard cut him off at the pass. Here's Balderas again. Into the corner they work it. To Fuster. And Dennis Potvin battle. Now Balderas flipping it in front. It hits the intended receiver and goes to Savard, who clears it the length of the ice. 1 minute left in the battle. Vasiliak. Up the middle for Zlukta. In across the line, dropping it back. Balderas gets turned around, holds on to the puck. Balderas tries to center. He does. Zlukta score! Zlukta on a deflection from the slot area to make it 2-0 on the power play.
Now, Bobby, the box was there for Team NHL, but they put it through.
They let Zlukta come into the center. Balderas makes a great pass, and no hesitation, just bang. Again, Jerry didn't have any chance on it.
Perfectly timed by the Soviets. Here's a close-up look. Watch the stick. There you see it, right on your screen. Savard was between the goal scorer and the net, but Zlukta was there. And it's their third power play goal of the series, and very quickly, on only 2 shots in this second period, the Soviets have 2 goals and lead 2-0.
A 2-0 lead. Here is Potvin in his own zone, dropping it back for Vilyalednov. Cleared it out on right wing. Now Trottier knocks it down, but the Soviets get it again on left wing to Varnikov. In for Skorstov. His shot is blocked. And Keevers came out and cleared it away. Trottier, number 20. Behind the net, leaving it for Borja Salming. Salming trying to get away from Varnikov, clearing it out on the left wing board. Knocked down. Vilyalednov a drive! And that was blocked, I believe, by Salming, and it cleared the center ice by the NHL. Vilyalednov back to get it. The Soviets lead 2-0 and threaten again. Here's Varnikov cutting in, shoots wide, blocked by Salming. Now centered and intercepted. No knock. Now dropped, moving in. It's Potvin at centering pass, and Varnikov couldn't get it. Works off from the corner, back to the goal. Soviets pour the pressure on, and Robinson clears it away. Bossy behind the net to Robinson, out on left wing to Gillies. Gillies to center ice to Trottier. Lee pass to Bossy, broken up, and back comes Potvin. Potvin trying to set up Varnikov. Now Robinson. Here's Bossy. In on left wing for Gillies. Gillies feeding in. His shot, a weak one that's well wide of the net. Bossy along the board. Mike Bossy got it in front, was there to intercept and cleared away with Varnikov. And it will be icing against the Soviet Union.
10:42 left in the second period. 2-0 Soviets. This game between the NHL All-Stars and the Soviet national team is coming to you from New York.
There it is. The last one. What a night.
Hey, Jerry, celebrating with us?
Well, there's no 2 ways about it, Terry, old pal. You really did it this time.
What's the occasion?
Well, you knew they'd go for it. And the reaction?
Hey, all right.
Buongiorno,
You'd have thought they'd never seen it before.
Next time, bring out the Bordeaux. Your generosity will be appreciated, and your good taste remembered.
Now it is my pleasure to turn this play-by-play broadcast over to one of the great hockey announcers of all time from Hockey Night in Canada, Danny Gallagher.
Thank you very much, Dan. If I get this mic there, I have a part of it anyway. And I want to say it's been a pleasure working with you. Without gilding the lily, you're a consummate pro, and a good technician, too. So it is 2-0 for the Soviets here in the second period. After a first period that was not pulsating, not titillating, and sporadic in action, the Soviets have shown great power at times in the second period. There's Golikov getting it up. Mikhailov couldn't hold it. Lafleur coming back with Perreault and dropped back at the line. And Golikov cleared it down on the right side. Second back there for the NHL All-Stars. Up on the right side, it comes down the ice into Soviet territory. Back there goes Fedorov, trying to tie him up with Perreault. And it's cut over the line. Here's Mikhailov coming down. Swings a pass on the right side for Fedorov. He dropped it back to Golikov going in. And shot. And it was blocked in front of the net. There's another shot. They shoot
super shot.
Just watch how quickly Mikhailov shoots this. No hesitation, and Cheevers makes another great save. No hesitation, just bang.
That last goal is ripped out from Balderas and Vasiliev at 7:44 on the power play. 2-0 Soviet.
Potvin clears it on the left side. It's back into Soviet territory. They play it up on the left side. Dumanev couldn't get it. It's down into All-Star territory. Cleared on the right side for Potvin. Now it's tipped down on the wing by Hedberg. Vasiliev ties up his man. There may be a penalty. There is a penalty coming up. This could be a big break for the NHL All-Stars.
You are watching the Series of the Century live from Madison Square Garden.
Bonjour, I'd like to take you on a tour of Monte Carlo.
Come to Monte Carlo. Isn't this where you belong?
You see, there's more to Lafleur than hockey sticks. And there's more to Monte Carlo than fine performance. I like the way it handles. I like the way it looks. Monte Carlo, isn't this where you belong?
Second penalty of the hockey game. Vasiliev for holding at 10:48. As he wrestled with Mike Bossy deep in the Soviet zone. The only other penalty of the game earlier in this period to Barry Beck, and it was to Marcotte rather, and it was costly. And now it's Vasiliev for holding.
And so this titanic struggle between the Soviets and the National Hockey League now into the final half of what could be the final game. The Stars with a break here over to Lafleur. He fires a booming shot. And that one went off Vilyaletdinov, and down it goes into the Star zone. Now the National Hockey League organizing with Lafleur, Nielsen, Hedberg, and Potvin and Robinson. They stride into Soviet territory behind the net. Robinson double per Buchan. They jam in there, and there's a face-off coming up in Soviet territory. I think the Soviets have changed their strategy on penalty killing. They're not sending the two men in. They're lining four up at center ice. So they've changed that for tonight's game.
Larry Robinson playing as a forward on this power play. Scotty Bowman does that often with the Montreal Canadiens. Robinson out there with the two Swedish players from the Rangers, Lafleur and Potvin.
8:44 left in the second period. 2-0 for the Soviets. There's Potvin trapping it. He fired it in there. Here's Nielsen over the other side to Lafleur. Lafleur fired his shot. It's wide. It bounces over to the right side. Potvin is in there to cover up. He gives it to Nielsen. Nielsen takes a look. He's into the slot. Back it goes to Potvin. Over to Lafleur. Lafleur is circling at the line to Potvin. Potvin getting it right in front. A backhand shot by Nielsen. And he missed by a foot or so. Now it's Potvin over the other side. Lafleur. Here's Lafleur getting in front. He fired it. Mushkin was down and made the save. Now it's the Soviets coming out. Shrukov ahead to Golikov. Back to Shrukov. Ties back to Golikov. Finally winds up on Lafleur's stick. Lafleur at center. Into Soviet territory, putting on the break. Here's Lafleur taking a look. He fired it right in front. It rolled to the corner. Denis Potvin. Potvin getting right back to Lafleur. Over to Potvin. In it goes. Around the net, Gillies. He's getting a look. He tried to center it. Wild action. Trottier. It's Mushkin, number 20, Trottier, the penalty to Vasiliev as 22 seconds left.
Heavy action, Bob.
Mushkin's going to get penalized here. Trottier's in the crease, and he gives him a pretty good shot here. Of course, Trottier gives it back right there. Good right.
Yeah, now I think it's going to be a double penalty. Trottier's gone to the penalty box. Whether Mikhailov can speak English, I don't know. He's saying something. This is live coverage of game number 3 for the Challenge Cup.
Hidden are the years of training, the bruised muscles, the good times given up. But when you have a dream to be the best, it's all worth it. Lotto Canada funds help make dreams come true by helping young athletes get better and better at their game. Lotto Canada, a Canadian institution dedicated to the development of fitness and amateur sport in Canada.
The goaltender for the Soviets, Trottier and Team NHL. Mikhailov is really giving it to referee Andy Van Hellemond. This is the first real rhubarb we've had in the series. In fact, over at the bench while we were away, the Soviet coach had to step in and stress down his captain and try to calm him down a bit. Here we see it again. Mushkin and Trottier have both been penalized for roughing, and here's the reason why. First Mushkin, then Trottier, and they both get 2 minutes. Well, the Soviets are out their bench. They have not sent anybody to take the face-off. So here we go again. They are disputing the penalty, obviously, against the goaltender.
Now they think the
drift out, yeah.
Now they think the face-off should be outside.
Well, you've got... Soviet blue line. Bobby says now perhaps one of the arguments is the fact they feel the face-off with the coincident minor penalties come. Now here we go. All the Soviets are really upset. Well, you saw Aggie Kukowitz in there. He is the interpreter at times like this, and they were really giving it to Aggie. Now we're set to go. Dan Galvin. Okay, play is on again. Now Lafleur drops it. He keeps it in. Here's Lafleur trying to get in for a shot. He centered it, and it went Gillies stick to the board. There's Perreault. He'll handle it for the Soviets. Perreault jams it down on the right side. And Vasilyev's penalty now has expired. So they are playing 5-a-side. The score 2-0 for the Soviets in the second period. Potvin clearing it in. Then he races quickly over to the NHL Stars bench. There's a pass through center down the ice. Hedberg is back there to touch it. And it is icing called against the Soviets. So the Soviets up 2-0 in the hockey game with 6:51 remaining in the second period. Become involved with referee Andy Van Hellemond, the interpreter, and you saw a brief shot just as play resumed of NHL President John Ziegler, who left his seat and went down back of the Soviet bench.
Okay, face-off in Soviet territory. The Soviet NHL showdown generates more emotion and more far-flung interest than any other hockey confrontation in recent times, and this one is no exception. Here we are into the final game, 2-0 in the second period. Soviets leading. Now it's back to Big Robinson. He fired, and Mushkin kicked it out. Balder is clearing it out to Kapustin, who is the star with 2 goals yesterday. Kapustin to Fedora. He plays it back. Fedora clearing it through center, going after it is Kapustin. Kapustin going in and goal, fired it. And Cheevers stood his ground and came up with a very fine save for the Stars. Now Fedora clearing it over on the open left wing. At his own line, Salming off the stick it goes. Nielsen going in after it. Fedora watching him. They jam in on the boards behind the net. 6 minutes and 10 seconds left in the second period. 2-0 for the Soviets. And here's Kapustin coming down with Shutt. Around the net, Karbinov. Karbinov centered it. Now over on the far side. Nielsen cleared it to his center. Babinoff back to his left. Fedora has some skating room at center to the Stars line. He has Balderas with him. Balderas going in. Then he lost his balance against Salman. The big bird. He hasn't flown yet, but he gets the pass over to the side to Gainey. Into the corner for Robinson. Robinson trying to center it. They jam in behind the net. Robinson still with it. Here's Robinson centered it. And a shot by Trottier as he came out of the penalty box just wide. Here's Trottier. Got to Savard. And his shot is blocked. Robinson going down to beat Jimenez to it. But Chivers comes out and cleared it out onto the line. Guimet brings the puck in. Now it's Savard. Savard turning from the corner, leading a four-man All-Stars attack. Pass is taken by Clarke. He pumped the weak shot in there. It's fired over to the left side, and down the ice it goes. Let's see, is it going to be icing? It is.
The Challenge Cup is coming to you live from New York.
Why are you leaving already? Oh, I have to. It's 12 o'clock. No, it isn't. Look, you still have a whole minute. Oh, your watch must be wrong. It can't leave.
It's the Timex Quartz, and it keeps great time to within 15 seconds a month.
You probably forgot to wind it.
Oh, impossible. This Timex doesn't need winding because it has an energy cell. And it costs less than $60.
Uh-oh. It must be midnight. I gotta go. Bye.
But I don't even know your name.
Timex Quartz, for people who can't afford to be late.
Moment ago, Kapustin of the Soviet Union, worked by Boryasov, and took a real swipe at him. And from close range, Chivers made the save on the short side.
The Stars, everybody up. Beck clearing it in. It's scooped to the left side, goes into the center ice area. Barnikov is after Potvin. Now on the left side, Potvin over to Barnikov. Skvortsov has it. He turns in the corner. Back to Vasiliev. Into Skvortsov. He missed it. Now, Skvortsov again, tipping it. Potvin takes over. Skvortsov goes after him and is played on the right side to Lafleur. Lafleur got rid of it. This could be icing against the Stars. Is that their first icing?
That's the first icing against Team NHL. And there you had the collision. Bill Barber of Team NHL against Big Vasiliev, back of the Soviet net. First icing, Danny, against Team NHL. The Soviets have had 10 icings called against them. As we take a look at the confrontation and then collision in back of the red line, Barber trying to avoid the icing. Doesn't get there in time, but does manage to take out the man after the whistle had gone.
4 minutes and 18 seconds left. This is the second period. After a scoreless first period, 2 Soviet goals. They lead 2-0. And Lafleur decides to go back. He couldn't get by Mikhailov. The veteran stays in there. The pass comes to the line. Barber going after it on the right wing at center. He lost it. Now to the far side. Alexander Golikov. Back cleared it ahead. Lafleur waiting for Barber to get onside. And is back into the center ice area. Perreault clearing it in. The Stars, they know that time is becoming a factor even in the second period. It's a final game. They are down 2-0. Now, coming up, and on the offside, that's Mikhailov.
That's the third time this period, Dick and Dan, that they've tried the pass up the middle, and 3 times they were almost successful. NHL Stars are forgetting a little bit about that middle now, and 3 times, I guess, they tried to pass, and Mikhailov almost had a breakaway right there.
Bobby, they're forgetting about it because of the score. 2-0 for the Soviets, 3:40 left in the second period. We mentioned during yesterday afternoon's game that the Soviets, famous for that, really hadn't been given a chance to do it at all. But you're right, here in the second period is the first time we've seen a good example of it.
Well, the Soviets played a tremendous hockey game yesterday, and quite a reversal. I don't know whether or not the fact they went to see Superman Friday night had anything to do with it or not. But that was one of the finest Soviet hockey games certainly I've ever seen. Letter perfect, practically. Now there's Bossy going in there. The puck is in the Soviet zone. Trottier centered it. Fedora comes up with it. There's a pass to Kapustin. He missed it on the left wing at center. And Salming from in front of the net. 2-0 for the Soviets, and Robinson clearing it ahead. In over the line. Gillies against Babinoff. They bump on the board. Let's see, do they get a whistle? Yes, they do.
3:04 remaining to our intermission. Now let's join Dave Haas.
International hockey, its future, and all its ramifications will be discussed in the second intermission with John Ziegler, the NHL president, and Al Eagleson, executive director of the NHL Players Association. We found Chico Resch, we think. We'll have him in the second intermission, and Howie Meeker makes a repeat performance with highlights.
Face off, the outer side of the circle, toward the blue line in Soviet territory. Potvin has to wait for his teammates to get onside. Gillies failed to pump it ahead to Trottier. Now down at the line, Jumanev couldn't get anywhere. Into the center ice area. Trottier coming in with Bossy right in front of the net. And it was finally cleared away. Jumanev was belted by Trottier. Now Savard runs into Makarov up on the right side. The Soviets coming. Gainey. It was Potvin who met him there, and what a collision that was. It's scooped in on the left side by Gillies, and that is the signal for the NHL All-Stars to make changes. Now into the center ice area, Makarov with 2 minutes. Coming in, there's the shot. Dumanev was looking for a rebound, but Keever's covered up.
Bobby, New York Islander fans must be feeling a bit better. Denny Potvin's had a bad shoulder, but he seems to be back in business.
Well, in a series like that, he may be hurt like this. He may be hurting a little bit, but he's certainly going to play in a big game like this.
Quite a collision.
Soviets sending everybody up for the face-off. Verbuchen on 1 point. Vilyaletinoff on the other. They clear it into the corner, and Robinson sends it to Gainey. It's stopped by Colvin at the line. Now it's back into the center ice area, and Colvin again. Back to the line. Verbuchen passes it through the center ice area. He gets it back again. They hop in on that right side. Skavortsov. Puck is loose in front. Here's Robinson with Gainey. Robinson hitting the Soviet line. Back to Gainey. He fired a shot. And Newskin came up with that.
Bobby, one thing about this period, well, Team NHL has had a lot of the play, especially earlier on. That's only about the 3rd or 4th real good shot that they've had on goal.
I really feel this kid can be beaten, Mushkin can be beaten, and if we're going to get back in this game, the second period is almost over, and we've had 13 shots. And gosh, we have so much talent out there. The offense we have out there is incredible, and we just, yesterday we had 16, and up to this point 13. It's just not enough.
Shots in this period 6-6. Yesterday we wondered at the lack of shooting on the part of Team NHL, and even though they're playing a much stronger game tonight, skating much better, they're still not getting the shots on goal.
Well, that's a negative aspect. They're not getting the shots. Therefore, you have to be positive and say the Soviets are doing an excellent job of staying with them, checking them. Soviets leading 2-0. There's a shot! Not missing by much on the far side was Lanny McDonald. Into the corner, Babinov. Out it comes into the center ice area. Petrov ahead to Golikov. We do not have to use the first name tonight because we just have the one Golikov, and that happens to be Alexander. So it's the last time you'll hear Alexander tonight. Petrov into the center ice area to Golikov. Winding up for the shot. Wide. To the far side. Petrov. Mikhailov is cruising in the slot position. Now a pass intercepted. Right in front. Back to the line to Babinov. Into the corner. Now Savard with possession, trying to get some skating room. Skating room difficult to come by. There's the pass. Gainey couldn't reach it. Babinov is bumping with Gainey. They're on the board. They jostle vigorously, and Savard coming up with it against Petrov. He follows Petrov. Gainey hit Babinov. Now, Mikhailov was belted by Lanny McDonald after clearing it out. They are still trying to disentangle inside the Soviet line. Puck on the right side at center. It was gloved ahead to Nilsson, and the play is stopped.
John Marcotte cut on the forehead, as you can see. I don't know when it happened. He fell, gloved the puck ahead, and he has been nicked underneath the hairline. He will catch it here. I don't know what. So that's the McDonald collision with Mikhailov.
And he gives Mikhailov a little friendly pull.
Bobby, he's a master around that number 13 around the net.
He's, like I said earlier, he's the oldest player on the team, but he knows how to put that puck in the net. And 72, he was a thorn in our backsides, and he again right now.
No big booming slap shot. Hedberg cleared it behind the net. Lafleur feeds it to the other side. Nilsson backhand shot, hit a leg. Now pressing his Potvin at the line. He cleared it into the corner. Darryl gets it out on the left side to Balderas. There is the end of the second period.
And the shots on goal, 7-6 in favor of Team NHL. Overall, 14-12. And so the score at the end of the second period. The Soviets 2, the NHL nothing. This is Game 3 for the Challenge Cup.
Sam, what makes the new Chevrolet so right?
You must remember this. Back in 76, Chevy knew just why. That smaller was a better buy with gas so high. And so Caprice was built, a classic in its field, and easy on the eye. And on the pocketbook as well as cars you buy. Chevy had the know-how, the models, and the taste. And GM was the leader. Chevy set the pace. So now they buy Caprice and sit back at their ease, enjoy that big car ride. Chevy is the reason why as time goes by.
Sam, this could be the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
The verdict's in. More people. From New York City, we're in the second intermission. 20 minutes or perhaps more to play in the Challenge Cup Series, but the Soviet Union has a 2-0 lead at the end of 40 minutes on goals by Boris Mikhailov, the Soviet captain, his third of the series, and by Viktor Zhlukov. And it's 2-0 in favor of the Soviets, and that period also produced the largest on-ice controversy of this series. We're wondering just what it amounted to, and a couple of people here can tell us. John Ziegler, the president of the NHL, and Al Eagleson, executive director of the League's Players Association. John, what was the fuss about?
Well, I think it was an instant replay of Philadelphia. They didn't like the officiating, and they thought the way they could handle that was to threaten to pull their team off. Alan?
Well, in speaking with Mr. Sitch, who's their chief negotiator, the indication he gave was that our players were getting too rough, and we should tell them, and if we didn't tell them to stop being rough, and if they had one more rough body contact check, they were going to take their team. I said, well, look, we're doing the best we can. The referee's doing the best we can. It's obvious that he's trying, and it's NHL rules. That was the deal, and if you don't like it and you want to take your team off the ice, we'd be very happy to take the default.
Psychological warfare, would you call it that?
Well, I think Mr. Sitch was pretty well worked up and felt very strongly about what he was saying. We just passed a reminder on him that this is the best referee or one of the best in the National Hockey League, and that the Soviets, with respect to our future relations, really shouldn't let one game get a hold of them and destroy a lot of things that we've been working on for a long time.
At the very end of the period, when Donnie Marcotte caught an accidental high stick, and for about 4 or 5 stitches, I turned around at the Sitch and asked them why his players couldn't keep their sticks on the ice. I don't think you understand me any more than I understand him, but at least gives me some satisfaction. It's interesting, though, that here we put the series together. First game, a great game for us. Second game, a great game for them. Third game, a great game. It's 2-0. The last time we were down 2 goals going into the third period was 1972, and I certainly hope we have an instant replay. Where is Paul Henderson?
Somehow I knew you'd meant it was 5-3, right?
5-3 going into the last period.
3 goals were needed to win, and that's what Team Canada at that time got. This has been an historic week for hockey in New York. There have been many things happening apart from the games at Madison Square Garden. And Al, I wonder about the future of this Challenge Cup Series. Are we going to see it again? If so, where? If so, when?
I think from our discussions between John and me, and then in our discussions with the Soviets, we pretty well conceded that it won't happen next year. Next year is Olympics, 1980 in Lake Placid. It would scarcely seem sensible to have the Soviet national team come here and perhaps lose or perhaps defeat our team of NHL stars and then move on a week later and conceivably lose to a team of young amateurs from either Canada or the States. We feel that we can structure a Challenge Cup either 2 or 3 years out of 4. We can tie in a Canada Cup 1 year out of 4. war, work together on international exchanges between the two countries, wherein top NHL clubs would visit Russia on occasion, and top Soviet clubs would visit North America.
Now, the thing that some people might tend to forget is that this great series is replacing what would normally be the NHL All-Star Game. Do we see a return of that next year, John? I didn't laugh.
It might fail somewhat by comparison.
Yeah, well, let me, first of all, the early indications are, as Alan said, but we haven't made any final decisions on this yet. I think this week has been a great week. I think the concept of taking a week and building something is important, and I hope that we can maintain it. If not with the Soviets, or if not with an international event, maybe with some other event that will be of equal significance. I think that this has been a great week all around. I don't like the score right now, and I hope it changes. But regardless of that, the event has been spectacular, and I hope for the NHL and all our fans that we can maintain some kind of continuity of this kind of event. As to international, Alan and I have some agreements. We don't have complete agreements of things. We certainly don't have complete agreements yet with our international friends, but we'll be working on it.
I need a very short answer from both of you to the question of the NHL's reputation. If this score remains, the reputation will be tarnished. By how much?
By 2-0.
Yes, I don't think there'll be a fan who will avoid going to or stay away from an NHL game because we lose this game.
And I don't think there'll be another one show up if we win. I think it's a spectacle itself, a great spectacle, a great thing for North American hockey and for international hockey. We don't have to apologize for anything to anyone, win, lose, or draw, and I hope we win, and it looks tough.
And certainly your players don't have to apologize. They played magnificently.
Well, I really think it beats the All-Star game. Thank you very much to Al Eagleson and to John Ziegler. Next, we have Chico Resch with us to talk about goaltending and other aspects of this series. Live from Madison Square Garden, it's the challenge.
Still gets a break. We do it all for you.
After 2 periods in Game 3 of the Challenge Cup, the Soviet Union leading Team NHL 2-0. This is Dick Irvin speaking to you in the broadcast booth, and with me now is Chico Resch of the New York Islanders, who thought he was supposed to be up here in the second intermission. I'm kind of glad it worked out the way it did, because Chico spent most of the first intermission talking with Vladislav Trottier, who is the backup goalie tonight. Chico, what did he feel?
Well, he was as surprised as everyone in the rink or everyone watching this game that he wasn't starting, and I asked him, well, how do you think the kid is? And he says he hasn't been tested yet, and so that was a pretty honest statement. I thought that's something that any of us goalies would probably say. We feel we should be in there.
All right, how do you think the kid has been doing? Because he has blanked a pretty good hockey club.
Well, he has, Dick. You know, I think it might seem funny, but I think goaltending is everything going into this third period. I mean, let's face it. Jerry Cheevers, if called upon, he's going to have to play the best game of his life and hold them to 2. I mean, if they get the next one, we're hurting bad. And we got to hope that kid makes a mistake. I mean, he maybe hasn't been tested that tough, but he hasn't given us anything. He hasn't given rebounds. And, you know, even Trottier, from what I could gather, he must be surprised how well he's playing. But I haven't seen anything yet to see that make me believe that he's going to give up a bad goal, which is what we really need.
You think that it's to the Soviets' advantage, the fact that they waived the rule that you fellas are playing under this season, that you can't hang on to that puck without somebody pressing it?
Oh, I think it's a big advantage because it just slows the game down, and even the freezing the puck along the boards is slowing the game down, and we haven't been able to get anything going. And now this is where it really comes into play, Dick, because we want to get some momentum in the third period, right? You can look for him any chance he gets freezing that puck, breaking that momentum, and you know, hopefully that he won't have a chance to fall on the rebound and be 5 feet away and somebody can put it in.
Chico, I don't think anybody could blame Jerry Cheevers for the 2 goals that were in, but were you surprised that Scotty Bowman made the change from Ken Dryden, who played the first 2 games?
You know, I tell you, I think Jerry is great, but I was really, really surprised that Jerry played. Not so much that I didn't think Jerry could do the job, but he hadn't played, and Kenny had played 2 games, and Kenny, I think, plays well in the big games. Not that Jerry doesn't, but I didn't see any reason why the change. So I was a little bit surprised. But as you said, I was right down in the corner there, and both those goals, Jerry really couldn't have done anything on them.
Chico, our time is up. Thanks very much, and continued good luck for the rest of the NHL season with the Islanders.
Thanks, Dick. Let's hope that we have a happy ending tonight.
Okay. Chico Resch, the Soviets are leading after 2 periods, 2-0 from New York, the Challenge Cup.
Things go better when you and Coke get together.
Things like the Charlottetown Festival.
Again, searching for the
Gastron!
Coke, asking for living life.
79 Chevrolet Malibu. It measures up on the inside, where dimensions really count. It gives you dashboard modules that are easy to remove for quicker service. And Chevrolet Malibu features GM's high-pressure compact spare for inner trunk space. And the standard V6 engine saves space, saves weight. 79 Chevrolet Malibu. It has more for you on the inside. A new star in the age of inner space.
This is the Challenge Cup, and indeed it has turned into quite a challenge for the National Hockey League, down 2 goals with 1 period remaining. And Howie Meeker, we don't want to belabor the point, but it is obvious to anybody watching the lack of offensive movement by the National Hockey League. Somebody to pick up that puck and get going and do something with it and get it down to the other end. We're just not seeing it. And instead, the Soviet Union is turning mistakes in the NHL zone into scoring chances and into goals.
Well, Dave, we had Robinson, Gainey, and I guess to the greatest extent Joe Perreault were the fellows who were able to take the puck and really move it and get it into the Soviet zone. Obviously, the Soviet coach says, hey, for goodness sakes, fellas, Perreault gets near the puck, and you can roll this here. When Perreault gets near the puck, send 2 fellas after him. Take him off the puck. Don't let that big guy get started. And this is right here. You'll watch the puck will go into the NHL zone. Perreault will pick it up, and watch. Immediately, he picks it up from right here, comes out to him. 2 Soviet players take off after him. And look at the check. Vasiliev comes across. Vasiliev come right across and took him, and he said, hey, better I take him on the NHL blue line than try to stop on our blue line. But obviously, they have orders. The second he gets the puck, take him off the puck, and it's worked.
You knew the first goal would be important. It was followed by an NHL penalty and a Soviet power play goal, and it seemed very definite to me that the National Hockey League team was rattled at that point, and while that lead was being built.
Well, it's 2-0 here, and Petrov, Mihailov, and Kapustin just combined on a pretty effort, and Cheevers, and Jerry Cheevers just made a super save. I think the most important thing here is the number of times the NHL players are down and out of position. Just watch the Soviets control the puck, and continually they're making the play after a checker has either bounced off the Soviet player or gone down to block a shot and block a pass. Now watch this combination here. Tic-tac-toe, puck, check not being finished. Now watch Cheevers slide his hand up the stick, shoot the stick up, and God. Could be 3-0, and I guess really it should be 3-0. Cheevers has made some great saves.
Thank you very much to Howie Meeker. As we get set for the 3rd period of play, this is game number 3, the Soviet Union and the NHL for the Challenge Cup.
Come on, Eddie, we don't have much time. I'm coming. I'm working on my shot.
That Eddie, still not back there. He never did back there. Last on the ice, last off. We're running out of time. We won't get a beer. No, we won't. We'll get started with you.
For years, Eddie and the guys have been getting in some pickup hockey and putting away a little Molson Export Ale.
I told you guys. That's it. Last round.
Molson Export Ale keeps on tasting great.
There is 1 period to play of regulation time. There is the possibility of overtime, but Al Eagleson said what many of us have to be thinking when watching this game, that 1972 comes back vividly to memory, when in the 3rd period, the National Hockey League, or Team Canada then, was down by 2 goals and rallied to win the game on Paul Henderson's last-minute goal. The situation is very much the same, though the game is being played in a different country. The Soviet Union has a 2-goal lead. Way back when, 6 or 7 years ago, we were talking about the heart of the Canadian hockey players, the ability to reach down for something extra when it was most needed. It is needed again. We learn a lesson every time we play the Soviets. Right now, potentially, this is the most important lesson we have learned, the most damaging lesson if the Soviets win this series on North American ice. It's been a great series so far. The Soviets have been best, and we'll find out about the final outcome.
All right, Dave, there you see the summary. All of the scoring in this hockey game in the second period. Mikhailov from Goldikov at 5:47. Shutt on a power play from Balderas and Vasiliev at 7:44. The crowd now starting to pick up the chant as they are behind Team NHL, who are behind the Soviets. Danny Gallivan, we'll see what happens.
Okay, Dick, it's Perreault at center, Lafleur on the right side, Gainey on the left wing for the NHL All-Stars. For the Soviets, they have Petrov, Mikhailov, and Golikov. And there's an offside at the Soviet line. You know, I think, just off the top of my head, that the All-Stars, with their bonded power, have now gone 3.5 periods without a goal, almost. Could you work on that and see exactly? Ron Andrews, how many periods? Now the puck is back in the All-Star zone, and that's the nice thing.
You know, they talked about 72, Al Eagleson, Dave Hodge. The Soviets have 5 players in the roster of this team who played against Team Canada in that historic night series. The NHL has 6. The Soviets, Trottier, Vasiliev, Mikhailov, Petrov, and Arlamov. The NHL, Bryan, Savard, Clarke, Perreault, and Lapointe.
And now Scotty Bowman is going to make a change just as they were ready to drop the puck for the face-off. Gainey goes off. He's putting Nilsson out there with a Hedberg. Lafleur's on the right side. Robinson and Salming are playing up. And the Soviets clear it down the ice. And again, they are going to be called for icing. I wonder, is this an indication of their pattern of play here in this third period?
Well, they're up 2-0, Danny. They aren't going to take any chances. They're going to dump the puck out. After the second half of that second period, they started playing with so much confidence, passing the puck back into their own end, putting 2 men out at center ice. They're very confident right now.
Here again, though, the more you shoot it down, the more face-offs in your zone, the greater the opportunity for the opposition to score. We'll go into detail on that when we have an hour or so. Now it's Hedberg clearing it in there. Mushkin is covering up. The All-Stars have gone 74 minutes and 59 seconds without a goal.
Chico, what happened, Mushkin, and Chico Resch mentioned that he felt that was a big advantage for the Soviets.
Lafleur getting it back. Salming takes a shot. It's knocked down in front. They stall. The crowd reacting there. They thought that the Soviet player made some effort to get his glove on it. That was Starikov. Mikhailov getting it out over the line to Petrov. Petrov is forced back by Lafleur. It's deep in Soviet territory. Starikov firing it down in over the line. Petrov couldn't get it. Following up is Golikov. He played it to center. Now Hedberg coming down. He fired it. Big save by Mushkin. That was a snap, booming wrist shot by number 15, Hedberg. Now it's Petrov back in over the All-Stars line. Mikhailov banked it off the boards in behind the net. The Stars getting it up on the left side. Hedberg is passed. Bossy couldn't get it. Now Hedberg goes to the bench. Mikhailov is over the line, runs into Robinson. We have Trottier. There's a pass, maybe intercepted, and finally Trottier down on the right wing with Gillies. Here's Trottier taking the shot, and it's blocked by Mushkin on the short side. On the corner, Kapustin to Babinov at the other side. It's swung around the board, hustling to keep it in. Potvin, he did. Now they go to the corner fighting for it. The Soviet. Balderas, the pass into the center ice area. Flipped off, missed the pass back from Kapustin. Now Balderas getting set. He's getting it front. He fired it. And Chivers may have got his glove on it and went high off the glass. The Stars coming back. Babinov inside his line for the Soviets. Now 4 of them turn at their own line into the center ice area. Pass on the right side to Kapustin, broken up by Gainey. Gainey ahead it goes. Over the line, Clarke following up is Gainey. He fired it, and that one hit Lanny McDonald. Clarke again. He centered it to the left of the crease. It's loose, and the Soviets starting out. Down on the right side, Balderas, he puts on the brakes, makes the move. Gainey has it. The action swings back to the Soviet zone. Here's Gainey taking a long, weak shot. He goes in to pick up the rebound. Vervuken covering him behind the net against Clarke, and they get a stoppage in play.
2-0. The Soviets lead the NHL, the Challenge Cup, the series of the century.
Can I help you?
Baboon Burger.
Nice car. What is it?
Chevy Chevette. Best-selling small car in North America.
What do you have on it?
AM radio, console, reclining bucket seats, white striped tires. It's all standard on the four-door Chevy Chevette. Even the hatchback.
Love it, but I don't need the hatchback.
How come?
I've already got a trunk.
Chevy Chevette. A lot of little car for the money.
Team NHL down 2-0, 3:04 gone in the third period. I'm Dick Irwin with Danny Sullivan, Dan Kelly, and Bobby Orr in the broadcast booth at Madison Square Garden.
And the face-off in deep Soviet territory. Savard and Robinson on the points. There's Robinson. A weak shot. It rolled in. And Mushkin had to have that great reflex action operating beautifully. It centered into the slot. The Russians cleared it out on the left side. Makarov was there, and Savard knocked it off the board. Lanny McDonald winding up, and he wrapped that one off Vervuken's leg. He cleared it to center. A struggling Soviet player, Dumanev, got it over to Makarov. He fired it into the corner. Savard took a look over his shoulder. Now he's around the net, leading a four-man attack. A left wing pass to Sittler. Into the line, broken up. Dumanev brings it back inside the Soviet line. Johnny Bola making changes while the play goes on. Gillies to Makarov, back into the center ice area to Gillies. Over the line, trying to barge in there. He chops the shot wide. Makarov to Gillies. Into the corner. It's centered, goes out over the line, down the ice. 15 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in the third period in regulation time. 2-0 the score of the Soviets, leading. If they win this one, they will, in regulation time, win the series. Cheevers away out of the net. And Potvin cleared it to the corner. Here's Perreault. He ran into Potvin. Kavortsov couldn't get through there. It's knocked out. Cleared back in again. In behind the net. Vernikov watching it on the left side. Kavortsov picks it up. Now he tried to center it. Perreault around the net. It's loose in front of the net. Right in front of the net. There's a shot. They hit the goal post. Kavortsov hit the goal post. What a glorious scoring opportunity for the Soviets. Here's Lafleur leading a five-man attack at center. Lafleur in over the line. Goes to the corner. Lafleur takes a look. Passes it back. Vernikov tied up his man. There's a shot off the leg. Darryl clearing it on the left side into the center ice area. Potvin over to Robinson. Robinson passing it back. Golikov intercepted it and handed it off inadvertently to Robinson. Over to Lafleur. Lafleur firing at the rebound. And Mushkin covers up.
And there's Mushkin making a pretty good stop right there. Live from New York. This is the Challenge Cup.
Via Rail Canada. It's a way of making travel enjoyable again. Because Via gives you a choice. A choice of how you go, a choice of fares with our new Fare for All plan, and of course there's a choice of trains. And lots of courteous, helpful Via people. It's your choice. Be good to yourself. Take the train.
Shortly after his teammate, number 11, Alexander Sportskov, hit the goalpost. Look at this one. He threw it upstairs with Cheevers down on the ice, and it hit the goalpost dead on. Boy, the crowd's behind Team NHL right here, Danny.
Okay. NHL All-Stars lose the draw in Soviet territory. Mikhailov clearing it in, and the whistle stops the play.
Crowd would really like to get something going for Team NHL. But every time they start something, the Soviets seem to break up the play, win a face-off, whatever. The crowd's at it again.
Now here's Salming chasing it to the right side. He cleared it into Soviet territory. Babinov knocked it on the right side. It's back into the center ice area. 2-0 for the Soviets in the third period. Exactly 14 minutes left. Now the Soviets on the right wing. Babinov has it. He's in over the line with Mikhailov. There's the shot. Rebound to the side. And Nilsson cleared it around the net. On the left side. Salming gets it ahead to Hedberg. Quick wrist shot. He's wide with it. There's Gainey centering it. And Babinov cleared it to the line. Not out. Falling at the line was Hedberg. Now Mikhailov to Petrov. He was wide by 3 or 4 feet with a low hard drive. Puck back in the center ice area to the Soviet line. Babinov. Ahead it goes to Petrov. Savard taking over. Up to Bossy. Left wing pass to Gillies. Gillies is over the line. Digging for the corner. Trying to center it against Perreault. They fight for it behind the net. Vilya-Lepanov comes up with it and fed it ahead to Golikov. Savard over for Trottier to Bossy. He cleared it in. And the Stars move in trying to get possession. Vilya-Lepanov missed that check. There's a shot blocked by Ruskin. To the other side, Kapustin. Kapustin coming into the center ice area. Rink-wide pass. Here is Shrukov around the net trying to center it. Beck takes over for the NHL. Stars back into the center ice area. Ahead to Barber. He cleared it into the Soviet zone. Now, Vilya-Lepanov taking it on the board. Perreault was upended by Beck. Puck is down. Aldero's dropping it back for Shrukov. There's the shot. Shrukov again. Loose puck in front of the net. Vilya-Lepanov takes the shot. And Clarke has it. Clarke losing it to Balderas. Gets it again. And hits to Potvin. Potvin over the line. Into Barber. Barber centered it. And Clarke couldn't pick it up in front of the net. Lanny McDonald in the center ice area. Fantastic action here in the third period. Balderas reaching for it. And Savard going after it. Savard leading a 4-man. Stars attack. Savard with that head fake. Savard over the line. Fired it wide. Lanny McDonald centered it. And Kapustin tried to clear it out. Here is Clarke. Clarke getting it over to Barber. Barber is upended. The crowd reacting there. They thought there should have been a penalty. Guillies coming in. There's a pass. They score! Balderas! Is that Balderas that came up there?
The Soviets have made it 3-0. Just 11:16 left in this Challenge Cup Series. And Bobby Orr, it's something that you had to expect because Team NHL, the defensemen, people like Savard, Potvin were going in deep, and they caught them with only one man back, and the Soviets have taken the 3-0 lead. No contest as Balderas easily beats Cheevers. Here's a close-up look.
You may have made a great play to Balderas, Dick, and we're down 2-0. We've got to, you've got to get Savard Robinson going in there, and that's a chance you take. You could get caught, and unfortunately we got caught, and we're down 3-0.
So the Soviets leading 3-0. Now the task is even more monumental for the NHL All-Stars. We're in the third period. Exactly 11 minutes left. Now they bring it back in. Potvin has bumped up the line after clearing it in. Shumanev trying to pick it up. Salming is back there, and it is icing against the Soviets.
This game between the NHL All-Stars and the Soviet national team is coming to you from New York.
Guys, let's get a road report. We're snowed in. Everything's closed. Yeah? Yeah. That means we're going to have to stay. That means we're going to miss work tomorrow.
For years, Pete and the boys have broken away. A little skiing, good food, and a little Molson Export Ale.
This is what you're going to say. Hello, Jeannie? Hello, Jeannie? You're not going to believe this, but, You're not going to believe this, but, good luck.
Molson Export Ale. It keeps on tasting great.
Among the spectators tonight, Howard Cosell.
The NHL stars, everybody across the Soviet blue line for this face-off. The Soviets get the draw. They clear it into the center ice area. Now on the left wing, Stallman jammed out of the play, but it's called on the offside.
There was an urgency to the play of Team NHL, Bobby, just leading up to that goal. But, of course, there had to be. As you mentioned, they know what the clock says. They know what the scoreboard says. And they had to leave themselves open, and the Soviets are masters at that fast break, the 2-on-1.
It is Perreault at center, Lafleur and Sittler on the wing, Colvin, Vernikov, Skvortsov for the Soviets. That's Fedorov at his own line, swings the pass up on the left side. It's lugged in over the line by Colvin. Lafleur trying to get it. A shot by Skvortsov was weak and wide after he was set up by Vernikov. Now Perreault trying to get operating with that great speed of his. Perreault is in over the line, takes a look in the corner. He was checked and covered. Now it's Lafleur, centered it right in front. And Sittler was checked by Babinov before he could get into a position for a shot. Puck is behind the Russian net. It's intercepted. There's a shot by Sittler. And this little guy, Mushkin, moves very quickly. Skvortsov is stopped at the line. It's recovered by Colvin. Now he rolled it across the line. Here's Colvin getting set. He scores! Colvin! And it's 4-0 for the Soviets.
And they have broken it open here just past the midway mark of the final period. 9:33 left to play. 39 left to play. And Colvin just drills it. Cheevers didn't move. Bobby, I guess he didn't see it. He never moved till the puck was in the
I think it hit Savard. I think the shot went off Savard's stick.
Good chance right there. And coming right up on him.
And Jerry didn't move at all.
Watch Cheever's reaction here as the puck is coming in. Whoops, there it goes.
It dropped, and he didn't have a chance on that.
Potvin, the goal scorer. 4-0 Soviet.
So the Soviets turning in another remarkable exhibition of hockey proficiency have up the lead to 4-0 in the third period, and this is the final game of the Challenge Cup Series. They are, of course, now the prohibitive favorites to win it, but there's some time to go yet. Mikhailov going in, he fired it, and it was blocked. Now it's back. Vilya-Letanov has to go down the ice to pick it up. Vilya-Letanov, number 14. The fellow with the big name, but a fine ability as a hockey player. Now into the corner, Hedberg in front of the net. Robinson waiting for a pass out, but it doesn't come.
You are watching the Series of the Century live from Madison Square Garden.
Oldsmobile Cutlass for 1979. It's different cars for different people. Like Cutlass Supreme Room, the nicest of luxury touches. Or Cutlass Salon, lots of front and rear headroom thanks to the distinctive roof lines. And Cutlass Cruiser, a sedan ride in a hard-working wagon. Cutlass, solid Olds engineering and that great Cutlass feeling. All available in 79 with a V8 diesel engine. Have one built for you.
There's Arthur Harnett, the man who negotiated and holds the rights for the television coverage of this Series of the Century.
A meaningful silence has fallen over this crowd at Madison Square Garden. The meaning is that most of the people here feel the jig is up, that it's too much for the All-Stars to come back. But let's see. Here's Robinson trying to center it. It's off a stick. Beck is taken in on the boards by Balderas. It's picked up by Nilsson. Over the other side to Savard. He gives it to Beck. Closing in. There's a loose puck right in front. A shot. A big save by Mushkin. Oh, what a brilliant scintillating save from close in by the little goaltender. Now it's down the ice. We'll get a replay on that, no doubt. It should be worth seeing. There was a pileup, but I think he got in front of it.
Well, 5'7", Vladimir Mushkin. He'll be a household name in hockey fans' homes by tomorrow morning. Before the game, through an interpreter, this is how he felt.
On the basis of the way I played during our recent visit to North America with the Soviet Wings against the NHL, my coaches feel that I am ready to play against the NHL All-Stars.
Well, he's ready to play and then some, and there was probably his best save of the hockey game right there.
The time remaining, 8 minutes and 17 seconds into the third period. Back to Lapointe. A weak shot by Potvin. Starikov knocks it to the boards. Bumps with Gillies. Now Starikov trying to clear it out. Knocked down by Potvin. However, it's rolled out over the line. Soviets leading the NHL All-Stars 4-0. Salming ahead to Trottier, and it's offside.
There's Valderas, who scored. I think that's his first goal of this series, and they say he is Mr. Electricity over there. Danny and Bobby, I have a note just handed to me today, just this moment. An incident here today. Mr. Clarence Campbell, former president of the NHL, has entered hospital here in New York, underwent corrective internal surgery. He is resting comfortably this evening.
That is good news. Now, for the Soviets, Makarov. He's number 24. Gimeyev is 18. He's playing his first game in this series. Now around the net goes Bossy. He centered it right over his front puck and shoots. And Mushkin again. This guy is some kind of a goalie.
That time he looked behind him. Wasn't sure if he had it, but he had.
We wondered if he was any kind of a goaltender. In this third period, he's come up with 4 or 5 great saves. Just super saves.
You know, there was a rumor going around today, Bobby, that, he'd play, and people were shaking their heads and said, oh, there's no way. They've got to be kidding.
Well, Dennis Potvin can shoot it. He made a heck of a save on Dennis' shot.
Well, here he is, 5'7", Gump Worsley, Rogie Vachon type build, Mr. Mushkin, young Mr. Mushkin.
How about Roy Waters?
Golly, Danny, I'm not.
You're that old, Dick. There's a chopping shot, high and wide. Now it's back into the center ice area. Gillies clearing it in. Trottier, Bossy, and Gillies forechecking. Salming is in on the right wing, goes to the corner. Babinot swings it to Kapustin on the other side. In the clear. Makarov going in on the backhand. Scores! Makarov.
Well, I think that's 3 goals on 3 straight shots for the Soviets on Cheevers here in this final period. And that is it. There is no doubt about it, if there ever was, after the 4th Soviet goal went in. 7:16 remaining, and they are making a runaway of this one. And, of course, this comes as a disappointment. But all credit to the Soviets right here. It's Makarov, and he beats him on a backhand. And, boy, does he whip that backhand home. You don't see that too often or often enough. And he beats Cheevers high on the stick side with just a perfectly placed shot. Watch the corner of the net, and there goes the puck, and it's in there. Oh, super goal.
7:16, and the Soviets leading 5-0. Well, they're going to beat the National Hockey League All-Stars at a time that has been most convenient for the National Hockey League mid-season, playing in their own area on the North American continent. And on top of that, the Soviets had to come back from that licking, and it was a licking on Thursday night because the NHL All-Star team dominated that game, but since then it's been the Soviets. It's in the corner. Here is Savard. Ahead to Lafleur. He was bounced at the line by Potvin. Now Lafleur, a very sturdy performer. He is rugged. He's back up. Clears it on the right side to Savard. Perreault rolls it out over the line. Now Savard. Back it goes to Beck. 5-0. Soviets in front. 6:15 left in the hockey game. Good move by Savard into the center ice area with Clarke. Back it goes to Savard. Beck follows in. Now Clarke has it. Not much room to maneuver, and the Soviets take over. Perreault to the other side. There's a shot by Mikhailov. It goes off a stick. Mikhailov around the net, getting it back to Perreault. He flipped it off the leg of Savard. Savard saves to the right side. Out it goes to Gainey. Gainey down on the right side, checked by Mikhailov. And a penalty coming up against Mikhailov for holding.
This is live coverage of game number 3 for the Challenge Cup.
Things go better when you and Coke.
Things like watching your team.
Whoa, look at it, yeah.
14:22 here in the third period. Mikhailov, the captain of the Soviet team, off for holding as he put the grab on Bob Gainey.
So let us see now the alignment on the power play for the NHL All-Stars. We have Lafleur, Lanny McDonald, Sittler, Potvin, and there's a shot by Potvin off a stick over the glass. The other attacker on the power play, 26, Salmi.
No, Bobby, I don't know if it has anything to do with the way they play hockey, but the other day when the Soviets practiced, they spent about a half an hour with one puck on the ice, everybody on, 12 against 12 or whatever. It was very interesting and yet very strange by our standards.
River hockey. That's what we call river hockey here.
Now at the line, Lafleur keeping it in over the other side to Lanny McDonald. He chopped it. Sittler in behind the net. Vasiliev failed to clear it out. Salming over to Potvin. Pass intercepted by Golikov. Golikov coming down. Over the line. Winds up. Scores! Alexander Golikov.
Now that's a shorthanded goal. They've done it every which way. And that makes it 6-0 now as they just drilled that one from fairly well out, and again Cheevers stopped moving on the play, and it topped the corner inside the post. Here it comes, and he just winds up and lets it fly. And there it is.
And the Soviets are emptying Madison Square Garden.
Oh, Golikov. Boy, there's a name that we really didn't know too much about prior to the start of the series, but the brothers Golikov, and one of them's not playing tonight, they have done a great, great job.
I would think the better of the two is Vladimir, who is not playing tonight. He has been more productive as a scorer. Now, the Stars coming back, broken up by Vasiliev. This has been a tremendous domination in the third period by the Soviets. Now there's a shot. Hedberg shot went off Starikov. It's behind the net to the side. Vasiliev played it over to the far side, and Golikov cleared it down the ice. And the fans that are remaining here are giving the raspberries to goalie Cheevers. Now on the left side. Perreault couldn't pick it up. There's Bossy over on the far wing to Nilsson. It's cleared down the ice, and Robinson back after it. Here is Robinson, starting on the left side. Out over the line, goes to center with Trottier over to Gillies, shoots it! Luskin got in front of it. Trottier takes Zlukov in on the boards. Perreault cleared it to the other side. Trottier goes after Zlukov again. Now it's kept in by the Stars. Here is Savard, clearing it into the corner. Vilyaletdinov checks his men. Trottier, Balder is coming down, takes a look, still has it. Balder is losing it to Bossy. Bossy, outside the line, couldn't get anywhere against Balder. 6-0 to score. Soviets leading with 3 minutes and 32 seconds left in the series. Makarov swings into the center ice area. He hits the Stars line. Makarov over the line. A weak shot. Down to the side of the net. From behind. Salming is lugging it out against Gilbert. Salming goes to the right side. Backhands it in. Sittler coming in from the left wing in the corner. Tries to center it and hit a stick. Now along the boards on the right wing at center. Gilbert. Over on the left side. Makarov cleared it in, and the Soviets are now making changes while the play goes on. That is Beck headmanning the puck on the left side. It goes to Gainey. Gainey going in, fires the shot a good 6 or 7 feet wide. Now on the far right wing at center, Babinov cruises down, taking his time, cleared it in. Gillies to the other side was bodied by Salming. Soviets in possession. Makarov takes the shot. Actually, it turned out to be a hard pass. He wanted Gillies to deflect it, but the winger missed it. Now Lanny McDonald stopped by Fedorov. Talking to the center ice area. Over the line. Lanny McDonald firing it. Good glove save, but not a tough one because it was from well out. Now in this series. The time remaining exactly 2 minutes. Soviets about to wrap up the challenge series, leading 6-0. Now Beck in behind the net. Ahead to Clarke, cross with Barber and Lafleur. Lafleur scooting down on the right side. Mushkin comes out to Makarov. Puck is bouncing to the far side. Savard gets away from Lafleur. They have been fleet on their escape in this third period, particularly the Soviets.
1:35 left in the series. The Challenge Cup is coming to you live from New York.
Next time you get into a car, protect yourself, too. Wear your seatbelt.
The Molson Award winners as the outstanding players in tonight's hockey game. For the Soviets, the goaltender Mushkin, and for the NHL, Clarke Gillies.
And Mushkin has pulled off, I would think, his best saves in the third period when they were necessary, protecting that 2-0 lead, and then actually the Soviets were running away with it, leading 6-0 with a minute and a half left. Puck is called back down to the other blue line to be faced off as a result of an offside. We have Barber, Clarke, and Lafleur. Lafleur has put in a lot of ice time. He is an indefatigable worker. He keeps going both ways all the time. I don't know whether Ron Andrews talked him tonight or not, but I think he has put in more time up front than any other forward. That is for the All-Star. Now Barber passes it through center. On it is Barnikov. Back at the line, Vasiliev, who was the outstanding Soviet player yesterday, got it to Starikov to pass up on the wing. In over the line. Skvortsov ran into Barber. Now into the corner. Soviets getting set. Skvortsov missed that pass. Barber lugs it out into the center ice area. Over to Lafleur. A minute left in the game and in the series. Now exactly 59 seconds as they line up for the face-off as a result of the offside.
You know, Danny, the NHL gets back into action tomorrow night with Toronto at Chicago. Our players have an 80-game schedule. The Soviet Major League has a 44-game schedule. The players you're looking at now, members of their national team, will probably play 80 or more games through the course of their hockey season. Their regular campaign is scheduled so that there's a lot of time off before the various major tournaments. They had a lot of time off, of course, to prepare for this one, as Coach Tikhonov and his players practiced in the Netherlands for a couple of weeks or more prior to coming to North America. It's a little different here, of course, in that respect.
For the Soviets, Shlukov, Kapustin, and Balderas. Gillies, who has been already selected as the outstanding player for the NHL All-Stars, is on with Trottier and Bossy. Puck in the center ice area. Balderas took the Shlukov pass back to Shlukov over the other side, and it went behind Kapustin. Now into the center ice area. It's fired by Trottier to Gillies into the corner. A pass blocked. Pervukin can't clear it out over the line. Now it's loose in front, and it's rolled gently and delicately into the center ice area. Brought back in by Beck, but he cannot penetrate too deeply. A total of 15 seconds left. Here is Salming. And now they'll try to avert a shutout, but that's going to be a Herculean task, apparently. The countdown is on. The Soviets have it. They are going to win this game by the score of 6-0, and the Soviets win the Challenge Series 2-1, having dropped the first one 4-2. They won yesterday 5-4 and came back with a tremendously impressive third period, particularly tonight, to score 4 goals, to go with their 2 in the second to win it 6-0.
The story has to be Mushkin. When you were here and you heard the talk before the game, I referred to it briefly. Trottier not playing. Well, there you see Trottier, who really has not beaten the NHL in confrontations like this, because the NHL, or Team Canada, was the winner in 72 and again in 76 when they met the Soviets. But now in 78, 79, the Soviets win. The shots on goal, the NHL outshot the Soviets in this game 24-19. 10-7 in the final period. But right there, Vladimir Mushkin, a forgotten man in the whole scheme of this particular operation until game time tonight, has shut out the National Hockey League All-Stars. In fact, the All-Stars did not score against the Soviet team, and we must remember that. From a point early in the second period of Game 2 yesterday, that was it. They did not score in the third period in yesterday's game, nor did they score at all tonight. And I'll tell you, happiness is a 23-year-old kid named Mushkin. Well, gentlemen, while they are setting up the trophy presentation, Dan Kelly, why don't you come in and take over here for a moment?
Dick Irvin, I used to go over to Europe with Canada's national team when they were an amateur team and would be impressed with the Soviet outfit. Tonight I am just overwhelmed with a 6-0 victory over the best players of the National Hockey League, and it was a tremendous display that the Soviets put on here in Game 3 of the Challenge Cup Series. Let's go to center ice and the presentations.
Executive Director of the National Hockey League Players Association.
Ziegler and Alan Eagleson have now gone to Team NHL, and they're walking down the line shaking hands with their players. Live from New York, this is the Challenge Cup.
Maybe I should have got another sports car, huh?
Yeah, sports car, Brendan. Imagine the size of that thing after a sports car. The seats in the dash. You know, for your next car, you should get 4 doors. Dark, get a 10-stripe car. You made the right choice. You made an executive decision, fella.
For years, Brendan and the boys have been talking cars over a little Molson Export Ale.
No, he's not getting old. Why else is he getting old? Bernie, he is not getting old. He's getting, what would you call it? He's getting, mature. He's getting mature.
It keeps on tasting great.
The big news for 79 is from Chevrolet. The new Chevy Monza 2+2 hatchback. More standard Monza features than ever add up to more car, more kicks. Standard equipment includes tinted glass, AM radio, shift console, sports steering wheel, white striped tires, body side moldings, bucket seats, carpeting, hatchback, and more. All standard for only $4,571. When you want to put your car dollars to work for you, put your money on Monza from Chevrolet.
Well, there you see the scene continuing on the ice as the Soviets pose for the photographers. Several of the Team NHL players have paid their respects and have now left the ice, and the ceremonies continue as the photographers take over. And the fans here at Madison Square Garden, who were pro-NHL, now give the Soviets a fine hand as they leave the ice and celebrate their victory. Bobby Orr and Howie Meeker have been working with us throughout this series here at Madison Square Garden. We're all together now in the broadcast booth. Come on, fellas. Now, not too much in the way of long faces. Howie, a comment from you, and that third period. What can you say? Total domination.
Well, the second period as well. You know, Dick, since 1972, I've been saying, and people look at me like, I've been saying, hey, if the Russians ever learn how to play hockey, we're in trouble. And they came over here this series. They had to make 4 major changes in their system. They made all those changes, and once they did, their puck handling ability, their skating ability, and their ability to maintain full speed. Dan walked by with 2 minutes to go and said, hey, looks like those Soviets could skate like that till next Thursday. But they're a super, super hockey club and well-deserving of the win.
Bobby, how are we talking about the skating as the cheers in the background are for Clarke Gillies being presented with his Player of the Game award for Team NHL? Bob, this brings up the fact of conditioning. I mean, here we are in the middle of our season in one of our buildings, and yet let's face it, overall, from a skating standpoint, they outskated our team.
Well, we were certainly beaten by a heck of a hockey team. And like Howie said, they've got, since 1972, they've got onto the forechecking and the defensemen going into pinch. And they've been studying the last 6 years pretty good. But it was a great hockey team. What can I say?
Bobby, where do they get the leg? That's my most lasting impression of that Soviet team from this series. The leg. Where do they get them? Do they work that much harder? Is it their lifestyle that does this?
I think the big thing is they do as much land training as they do training on the ice, and I think the land training is the key to their conditioning.
I also think that if you really take your eye away from all the other things they do so well and watch their feet, they seem to skate lighter than we do. They seem to have less contact with the ice. I don't know what it is, but right away, if I walk into a National Hockey League team now and see a European skater, I can pick them out. I don't have to know the names of anybody. They skate different than we do. Maybe it's their method of teaching. I don't know.
What happened from game 1 through games 2 and 3? Bobby, was it an attitude problem? Was it a...
I don't think it was an attitude problem. I think, the Soviets made a couple changes. We were ahead 4-2 in the second game, and they got 2 quick goals. From that time on, their confidence just grew and grew and grew. And from the 10-minute mark on in this game tonight, they were so confident. They were putting the puck back into their end all night. They were sending 2 guys out to center ice. They just became so confident tonight after it became 2-0. It was incredible.
I make no apologies for the fact that I've got NHL stamp right in my forehead, and I still think that we've got a great game with some great players. Howie, I mentioned, Bobby, that, we won in 72. We beat them in Canada Cup in 76, so now they beat us in 79. But you say they've learned from us. What can we learn from them based on all of this?
Well, we have to teach our kids the skills across the country. Obviously, even though we have our best here, these fellas handle the puck as well, give and take a pass. I think they have 15 better fellas who do that than we do. Every one of their guys handle the puck well, and the skills are teachable. And we're just not teaching skills to our kids, and it's obvious again that those in the National Hockey League who are not all-stars could improve their skills by early training.
All right, our cameras are live into the Soviet room. We won't have any interviews down there because Dave Hodge hasn't quite yet mastered the language. Can we set up something, Howie, whereby our youngsters can get the kind of training, or is it something that really could never happen in our society?
Oh, anything can happen in our society. If we want to make it happen, I think it's just the parents of the kids that at the teachable age. When they start at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, we automatically assume they have the skills and teach them how to play hockey. I think first teach them how to skate, how to handle the puck, how to move their feet and control the puck and think at the same time. And then once you've taught these fellas these things, it's unlimited. Hey, in 5 years from now, we can come back and teach the Russians something again. And I just pray that Canadians involved in the game at the official level and Canadian parents of kids who are involved in the game demand my son should have the opportunity to learn the skills.
Bobby, there's a thing here that, our players are thrown into this situation at various times with a lot of pressure on. How do you think the players are now going to start feeling about it? Because, there seems to be so much involved so quickly all at once.
Well, they're certainly going to be disappointed.
No, but I mean in the future. I'm talking really now about the future. They're going to want to go through this sort of thing annually, whatever.
Well, I think we're going to want to play again. I'm sure the players will want to play again. We like to get our revenge.
Oh, it's not over. No, don't get...
But, the players want to play. They're going to be disappointed. And I think, we've just got to say, hey, we've got to work a little harder. And they outskated us. They, as Howie said earlier, they handle the puck so well. And they've handled it since 1972 better than we do. And they've gone on to the forechecking and so on. They're fantastic athletes. When I was over there at Christmas time, as Howie said earlier, the kids on the outside rinks with the feet, the skating, handling the puck, and that's all they practice. I watched a lot of that when I was there visiting.
You wonder just how our fellas, you're close to them. Would they want our schedule altered? Would they want to get into it even in a wider, broader base than it is now?
No excuses. We come in here with our best. We're in the middle of the season. We should be in shape, and they outplayed us and they beat us. When we should play, we played in September. We beat them in September. We're playing in the middle of the season. What can you say? We were beaten by a better club in this series.
Howie, one big problem. I'll tell you right now, because we've got to wrap it up, is knees. That's one of the biggest problems that we had in this series. Gentlemen, we have to go. Thank you very much. Bobby Orr, Howie Meeker, and of course our thanks to Dan Kelly and Danny Gallivan, who handled a very tough, believe me, play-by-play assignment in their usual professional fashion. And now down to our studios, and here's our host, Dave Hodge.
Thank you to everybody upstairs. Bobby Orr was echoing the pre-series comments of a former coach of his, a member of the Challenge Cup Management Committee for the NHL, Harry Sinden, who said before the series, there will be no alibis. We don't need them. We have no reason to look for them if we lose, and that is exactly the case. The general manager of the NHL All-Stars, Bill Torrey, said before the series that it is foolish to think that someday the Soviet Union cannot ice a hockey team that will beat the best the NHL has to offer, but it was just as foolish to think that the NHL could not recover and beat the Soviets once the Soviets did win. However, it would appear that it will be tougher after watching this series for the NHL to come back and win than it was for the Soviets to win the first time. We must thank many people, starting with the sponsors. Particular reference to General Motors of Canada Limited, recently closely associated with television coverage of international hockey. Also to our sponsors from Lotto Canada, Coca-Cola Limited, Via Rail, and Molson Breweries of Canada Limited, whose television sponsorship of NHL hockey has spanned 2 decades. Thanks to our technical crew, to the players for a great series, and to you fans for watching. The Challenge Cup, the series of the century, has been brought to you by your Pontiac Buick GMC truck dealers, and by your Chevrolet Oldsmobile and Chevrolet truck dealers across Canada. And by Molson, Canada's name in beer since 1786. This telecast has been produced for CTV by Canadian Sports Network in association with Harcom Consultants Limited. It is protected by copyright and is intended solely for the entertainment of the viewing audience. Any rebroadcast or reproduction of any kind, in whole or in part, without the express written consent of Canadian Sports Network and Harcom Consultants Limited is prohibited.
CTV Television Network.